The meeting can come to order, please. We'd appreciate it. Roll call, please.
Council members Intamin.
Here.
Erpenbach. Here. Jamison.
Here.
Litz.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Aguilar. Here. Anderson.
Here.
Brown.
Here. Thank you very much. Tonight, we're going to be led with the invocation by Councilor Erpenbach. Councilor, would you like everybody to stand or sit? What would you prefer?
Let us stand.
Stand. And then right after that, with your permission, we'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Let us pray. God of peace and justice, we invite you into this space this evening. We invite you to be part of this meeting and to watch over the decisions and be part of the conversation. Gracious God, we ask that you take care of your servants this evening, that you find peace in this proceeding, and that each of us feels the hand of God in our lives today. God, I ask that you watch over this city, this country, and especially bless our military personnel this evening. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everybody. Councilor Erpenbach, thank you so much. We're going to start with a motion and a second to please approve the consent agenda.
So move, Anderson.
Second, Aguilar.
It was a motion by Councilor Anderson Jr. and seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Hearing none, please vote.
Councilmember Intamin.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
That passed 8-0. We'll now ask for a motion and a second to approve the regular agenda for tonight's meeting.
Move to approve Jamison.
Intamin, second.
That has been moved by Councilor Jamison and seconded by Councilor Intamin to approve the regular agenda. Any questions or comments or changes? Hearing none, we'll vote on that as well.
Council members Intamin.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Thank you. That also passes. Ever since I became mayor, we've had a packed house for every single public city council meeting. Again, for those that are at home today, it is packed again. I truly thank all of you for attending. This is an opportunity for you to come up and speak with the city council. We'd ask you to keep it to 5 minutes, and we'd also ask you to keep it to a topic that is not on the regular agenda. But again, it is your city. It is your city council, so please come on up if you have any comments at all. Just state your name, please. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Sue Ann Bird, and I live at 300 Southwest Avenue in Sioux Falls. First of all, I want to congratulate our new mayor and the new council members to the process, and also to greet the incumbents that did such a great job in the last few years that they've been on the board. I just want to say that I've been watching you on television the last couple of weeks, and I heard Mr. Timmer talk about the rezoning and the problems that we have with that process. And I heard Mr. Cooper speak last week about the city kind of taking some direction to keep an eye on these projects for us neighbors who get their property rezoned and businesses come into our neighborhood and disrupt the whole situation. So my question, I could go on, but I know Mr. Brown and Mr. Litz have heard me for 2 years. So my question is, do you or the city of Sioux Falls check up on the construction plans and the conditional usage permits when these companies do not follow those directions or those things that are in those permits. I have I'm sorry, Bob, go ahead.
Please finish, Sue.
We have a car dealership on the corner of 12th and Lake. The city gave Mr. Zomer a street 2 years ago, which was nice of you to do for him, and so they closed Lake from 12th to 11th. Now, he has no access, really, to his place of business other than through an alley that runs behind my garage that is owned by the city, so let's please not give him the alley, too. But he has done nothing in 2 years to correspond with what was in the conditional usage description, and he had employed BHI and has since fired them, to my understanding. Supposed to have a fence, supposed to have a retaining wall, supposed to have trees. We have nothing. So I just wanted to see if there was anything that you could do to make him hurry this process along.
Thank you, Ms. Bird. First of all, thanks for doing that, and I'm going to defer to Councilor Litz first, and then the other city council, and then I'll be very brief if I do talk. Councilor Litz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sue, if I may, the answer to your question is, does the city follow up on construction projects? And the answer is yes. However, every once in a while, there are one of these that, due to the economy and other circumstances that happen, gets strung out a little bit longer and tends to fall through the cracks. But I agree with you, Sue, that some of the improvements on that property promised by that gentleman, he's had plenty of time. He's done some other improvements that weren't brought up on it, and I think it's time that he move along with some of the things that he promised you. So I would give you my word here today that I will speak with Mr. Cooper and see if we can get some of those things that are annoying you moved along on the project. Sue?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Litz. And that, I just want to make sure that the council knows, that's my home. I've lived in that home that home's been there for 80 years. And I've lived there not quite that long, but quite a while. And I live there 24/7, and I think there needs to be some consideration for neighborhoods in this town. Mr. Zomer can't even vote for you fine people because he's not a resident of this town. So, I do have a copy, and I'm sure you do, Bob, or somebody does, of the conditional usage thing that he has never followed. If someone would like it, I have a copy.
Sue Ann, with your permission, Councilor Jameson, would you mind just relaying to Sue Ann as well just what was talked about at the 4 o'clock informational in the spirit of trying to challenge the process and make it and improve it?
Sure. Sue Ann, next week, Monday at roughly 4 o'clock, the Land Use Committee is going to be meeting with Mike Cooper and a whole group of others. And we're going to be discussing all those procedures that are in place for when a property becomes rezoned, whether or not the city should be enforcing those things in a different manner. And the follow-up procedure, though, I don't think was really mentioned today, but it's a good piece to add. And normally a lot of those things are corrected with a occupancy. When they get a certificate of occupancy, they kind of have to check off on all these details. That one's a little different, but I think the follow-up procedure is a good thing to add. But the council and the administration are going to work together and get that whole process retooled a little bit, and hopefully eliminate the challenge that you're having today.
Well, my daughter and I have been working with Shauna with the city, and she's been absolutely marvelous to us. And has Mr. Litz. I think today was, when I was talking to him on the phone, knew just as much as I did, so she must have passed on some things to him. So I'm not going to get into those tonight because I know I only have 5 minutes, but I appreciate your time, Mr. Jameson, and the rest of the council, and if you could do something to follow up on these things that are promised to us as neighbors and get him to do what he's supposed to do. I mean, to me, that if I wasn't doing it, I'm sure someone would tell me that I needed to follow up. So,
Councilor Jameson, with your permission, could I just respond very quick? You have my word. This has been a very, very hot topic over the first 35 days that I've been in office. And you also have the word of the City Council. I don't want to speak directly for them. We have talked about this as a team individually in terms of things must be done. Mike Cooper is very energized about it as well, he and his team. I'm not going to overpromise you the world, but I will guarantee you the attention is there. It is there. Give us a little bit of time, and we actually talked tonight about how quickly we could implement these things. Deborah mentioned that once it's really approved, we can go immediately. In fact, we even talked about some things that we could implement even quicker than that. So the message is out there, it's clear, it's been heard, and these good folks want to respond. So thank you so much.
And I have worked with Mr. Cooper prior to all this, so he's a fine gentleman, and I'm sure he'll see, what's going to happen. But there will be other issues, too. If he does what he's supposed to, we'll need a city engineer to check the drainage issues and a number of things coming down that alley. And one other quick thing, I would appreciate it if somebody from traffic or someplace could look into that traffic that comes off on the corner of 11th and West, is where I live. And now these people come down West Avenue on their motorcycles or in their trucks, and there's no speed limit, and they have a straight shot right to Grange because Lake is closed, so they don't have to worry about any cars at the intersections. If we could get we knew there'd be more traffic there. If somebody could put a counter out there or put a speed bump or something to make them slow up, because I have great-grandchildren that play in that area. I have put up a fence to have some privacy from the street, so I would appreciate it if someone could look into that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience? It is your opportunity. Seeing none, we'll move to item 3, please.
Postpone definitely. Renewal of the 2010-11 retail malt beverage license for Fairu Halu Hordofa Shalom Ethiopian Coffee House to be operated at 1701 East 10th Street.
Can I have a motion to approve and second, please?
So moved, Litz. Second, Entenmann.
It has been moved by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Entenmann.
All right, Lori Hugstead with the City Attorney's Office. This item was brought to our attention prior to the meeting of June 7th by the Police Department. We had a neighbor that had called in with some concerns and issues regarding this particular business. And what we did is we set a meeting to meet with the neighbors and the applicant and his representatives, and we met last Thursday on June 17th to discuss the various items. We had a total of 22 people in attendance, including the applicant and his representative, as well as the property owner. He also brought along his security detail. There were 8 neighbors in attendance, and then also there were representatives from the City Attorney's Office and the Police Department. The neighbors voiced their concerns, and the applicant responded to those concerns at the meeting. We discussed the number of police calls that were at that location, et cetera. And the end result after our discussions, and it was about an hour meeting, is that we're going to take a very proactive approach to this, to the issues at this location, and it will mean that the employees of the business, the neighbors, and the police department are all going to work together on this issue. And it does involve more than just the alcohol license. There's a number of issues, and possibly some neighbors will be here tonight to give their insight as to the issues, and also the applicant and his representatives are present as well. I can answer any questions you may have now, or if you would like to hear from the applicants or the neighbors.
Thank you very much. This is an opportunity if the opponents first. If there are any opponents here, anybody who would wish that this not go through, please come up at this time. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Kevin Van Klumpenberg. I've lived in the neighborhood 25 years. In the past 3 to 4 years, I've called police numerous times late at night about excess noise from the coffee house patrons. The customers of the coffee house often park their vehicles on Maple and Nye streets and both sides of the street. And weekends, they total sometimes 20-some vehicles. Most of the people in cars arrive around after 11 p.m. and then come and go until 2:30 a.m. I've seen and heard yelling, swearing, threats, car horns blowing, car lights flashing, even some people urinating in the street. On May 8th, I was awakened by voices outside my bedroom. I got up, made some noise, the voices stopped. The following Monday, I was mowing my yard and I found an empty beer bottle and 5 more full ones in a bag right next to my house. On May 30th, I was awakened about 1:30 a.m. by yelling and car horns blowing. I called the police. They came out, and the noise was over for the night. On May 31st, about 12:45 a.m., I called the police. About 4 or 5 people by my house swearing and threatening each other. 911 said officers were already on the scene, and it quieted down. Then about 1:45 a.m., I called the police again. There were 15 to 20 people in front of my house talking in loud voices, walking up and down the sidewalk and in the street. Inside my house, which I had all closed up, it sounded like a television on at high volume. And when the police arrived, I heard them say, "Get out of the street," 8 or 10 times, and a woman say, "Pick up your bottle." On June 4th, a Friday night, I called the police about 1 a.m. 5 or 6 cars parked in the intersection, people walking back and forth from their cars to the coffee house. Car doors slamming every few minutes, some cars coming and going within 10 minutes. On June 11th, Friday night, traffic started to pick up about 11:30. I counted 60 to 70 vehicles went through that intersection between midnight and 2 a.m. Some of them parked, and a lot of coming and going again. On June 12th, I was awakened by loud voices and car doors slamming. I called the police about 12:45 a.m. About 10 vehicles parked in the intersection, people sitting in cars, other people leaning into cars talking. I also own a duplex at 1700 East Nye Street on the same block as the coffee house. My tenants have complained about the noise and the litter, and that really stresses me. One of my tenants told me he picks up 8 to 10 beer bottles mornings after these episodes. These people don't seem to respect anyone else's property or rights, and I think most of the problems stem from alcohol use. It's getting to the point where I don't feel safe in my own neighborhood anymore on weekends, and I hope you can do something. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, sir. Counselor.
Sir, were you one of the neighbors at this meeting?
I sure was.
Okay, and basically, can you give us your opinion of the resolutions that came up at this meeting?
Well, I'm supposedly the neighborhood contact person between the coffee house and the police, and we kind of decided to try and work together, but I don't know if that's going to be possible or not. This has been going on 3-4 years already or more, and I can't stand it anymore. I'm about ready to move.
And this is the first time at this meeting that you've had contact with the owners
Yes.
of that facility?
Yes.
Okay. And did you find them to be understanding and
They
willing
seem
to try
to
to
be
help
very
you?
nice people, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. I also have some pictures and a copy of the police log for the last 30 days.
You want to pass it around? I guess we can take a look at it.
Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak opposing this tonight?
Mr. Mayor, could I ask the gentleman a question first when he comes back to the microphone?
Kevin, there is another question. Would you mind? Councilor Urbanbach has a question
Just
for you.
one more
please.
quick question. The dates that you were talking about started in May, early May, and you've said previous to that you've had issues with this business.
Right.
Then you had this meeting with the neighborhood and with the business owner on the 21st of June.
Mm-hmm.
Has anything changed? It's only been a week, but how about this weekend? Was it any better? How did you feel?
Very quiet this weekend.
So maybe that, but it's only been one weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming, to appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience who would like to oppose this tonight? Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor of this tonight? sir. Thank you. Just state your name, please.
Yes, my name is Farouk Hordofa, and I own the coffee shop up in 10th Street, Shalom Ethiopian Coffee House, and this business is like a family business. We operate it as a family. To the person who just presented the issue, probably that is a bit of maybe an exaggeration, but I don't think the problem is this harsh. If this problem has been going on for this all years, he probably contacted me early, and then we could have resolved this issue a long time ago. But I don't think this issue is really harsh, and it gets to the point where it is right now. Another point is about the littering problems, about the noise problems, all the problems which we have control over. If he has a concern, we really want to work with the neighbors. We want to work, we'd like to work, we are very willing to work with the neighbors and with the police department. Any problem arose from coffee shop. But all these problems, keep in mind, these all problems comes outside, not from inside. Shalom Restaurant has been operated for 9 years, over 9 years, and since we acquired it, it's been a year and a little over 6 months now. And we had no problem, such a problem inside in Shalom Coffee House. And whichever, all the parties who's concerned with these issues, we are willing to work again. We will work with the littering issues. I heard some other parking issues problem, and with the noise problem, which all we have a control over. So we're not intended to cause a problem. We are here to do business. We want to work with the community. We want to work with the police department. We want to work with the city to make this city a better place. So I'm willing to get any questions if you may have.
Councilor Brown.
Farouk, what did you do differently this last weekend to make it more tolerable for the neighbors?
As I said, what I did was I controlled. They said there was a noise. I put down a little bit. There was a music. We play music for people to come and enjoy. We cut down a little bit. That's one of the things that I did, which I have control over.
And you're committed to working with the neighbors going forward?
I am. But the thing is, we didn't hear any kind of concern from the neighbors prior to this. If they come to me and they ask me, we have this problem, I'm willing to take care of that problem early on so that we don't have all these issues at hand right now. But we control it a little bit, and I think that's one of the things that we did this past week.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Anybody has any questions?
Mr. Ardolfo, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir, please.
My name is Michael Hansen. I'm the attorney for the coffee house, and there are just a couple issues I wanted to bring up that I talked about with my client, which he didn't really bring up, and I think he's a little nervous. One, a lot of the problems here are not them as customers, but the people who are coming, bringing their own beer and camping out in the area there. He became aware of this, and there was a little bit of a communication problem. At the meeting, the police said, call us, call 911, complain. When you see these people, they come, bring their own beer, camp out in the back or down the street, call the police. They said, well, it's not an emergency. We can't call 911. And the police department at the meeting made it clear to them to call 911, and a squad car will be dispatched. And I think that was a big starting point, and they've told me that they're now going to have employees walk out every now and then, walk down the sidewalk, see what's going on, and if there's a problem, to call 911 immediately. It was kind of a cultural thing here to where they thought 911, someone was being killed or being assaulted before you could call that. They now know it, and they've told me that they will have employees walk down the sidewalks, and if there's a problem, they will call the police. Thank you.
Any questions? Anybody else in favor of this tonight? Chief Barthel, could I ask you just a brief question? And Lori, maybe you as well. What responsibility does the business owner have in terms of what is going on outside of their business? Just very, very briefly.
Well, as far as criminally, it might be difficult to charge them with something that's not directly related to what's going on outside. Now, if, say, there were underage people that were involved and they got their alcohol inside that premise, then obviously they could be held responsible for that. But just because the items of, or calls of concern are happening outside of the building doesn't necessarily mean that, I mean, if they're there because of that business, certainly there's some consideration that needs to be taken at, probably at this level rather than as far as law enforcement. But again, I think the meeting went very well that we had with them last week, and even though it's only been a few days, give it some time, and through our proactive enforcement, we've got officers that are specifically watching that area, and hopefully when they see issues too at the establishment, they'll call us and let us know, and between the two of us and working with the neighbors, hopefully we can come to a resolution. Certainly it's not going to be perfect or we can take care of everything. I think that some might see as a perfect solution that we close the place, and others might see it as we keep it open. So we're going to work to try and find a happy medium. So.
Thank you, Chief. Lori, any quick comments?
Just from our meeting, it sounded like from the applicant that some of the people that were congregating outside were waiting for friends that were in the business. They had not come into the business, and they hadn't bought their beer in the business. They brought their own in their car, and then they would just be out there waiting for friends to come out and, take the beer out of their car and so on. And now I believe that they understand that they are able to call the police and get someone there to have those people go elsewhere.
Thank you. City Council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, if we could have a vote, please.
Council members Entman,
Yes.
Rippenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
That passed 8-0. Thank you. Now, items 4 through 16 will be read all at once.
4, new 2010 package liquor license for Century Motels East, Inc., Ramada Inn and Suites to be operated at 1301 West Russell Street. 5, new 2010 package liquor license for Pinnacle Hospitality, Inc., C.J. Callaway's to be operated at 500 East 69th Street. 6, transfer of a 2010 retail liquor license from Howell & Howell, Inc., Holiday Inn Express, 2501 South Shirley Avenue, to W&P of Sioux Falls, LLC, Buffalo Wild Wings Grill and Bar, to be operated at 2601 South Louise Avenue, including Sunday sales and video lottery terminals. Full-service restaurant, cup not required, pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. 7, transfer of a 2010 retail wine license from JSKR Ventures, Inc., Shooters Pub, 2309 West Madison Street, to DKPM Ventures, LLC, Shooters Pub, to be operated at 2309 West Madison Street, including video lottery terminals, with the conditional use permit 2010-0411 being approved on 5/5/10. 8, transfer of a 2009-10 retail malt beverage license from JSKR Ventures, Inc., Shooters Pub, 2309 West Madison Street, to DKPM Ventures, LLC, Shooters Pub, to be operated at 2309 West Madison Street, including video lottery terminals, with the conditional use permit 2010-0411 being approved on 5/5/10. 9, special one-day liquor license request for Washington Pavilion Management, Inc., Washington Pavilion of Arts and Science, 301 South Main Avenue, for a class reunion on September 11, 2010, and for a wedding receptions on July 17th, 24th, and 31st, August 7th, 14th, and September 4th and 18th, 2010. 10, special one-day liquor license request for Great Bear Recreation Park, Inc., Great Bear Recreation Park, to be operated at 5901 East Rice Street for class reunions on July 9th and 16th, 2010, and wedding receptions on July 31st, August 14th, 28th, and September 11, 25, 2010. 11, special one-day liquor license for the Sports Zone to be operated at the Old Courthouse Museum, 200 West 6th Street, for a wedding reception on August 14, 2010. 12, special one-day liquor license for SMG to be operated at the Orpheum Theater, 315 North Phillips Avenue, for a wedding reception on October 2nd, 2010. 13, special one-day malt beverage and wine license request for downtown Sioux Falls to be held at Falls Park West, 6th and Phillips for Downtown Live on August 21st, 2010. 14, special one-day malt beverage and wine license request for the Sioux Falls Irish Club to be operated on Phillips Avenue from 5th Street North to 2nd Street for the Irish Fest to be held on July 24th, 2010. 15, special one-day malt beverage and wine license request for Rummel Memorial Home, Inc. to be operated at Dalrymple Village, 1321 West Dalrymple Street for a chamber mixer to be held on July 13th, 2010. 16, various retail malt beverage, packaged malt beverage, and packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license renewals for 2010-2011 to be operated at various locations in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, identified as Exhibit C.
If I can get a motion to approve in a second, please.
Move to approve, Jameson.
Second, Urbanbach.
It has been motioned by Councilor Jameson and seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Lori?
All right, thank you. Lori Hogstead with the City Attorney's Office. I thought we'd start with items 4 through 15 first, and then we will go through the renewals. Are there any questions on 4 through 15? None? Okay. Item 16 is the last set of renewals for the retail malt beverage, packaged malt beverage, and the retail malt and farm winery licenses. On this list, I have a few that have pending items, and those are the Cocoa Palace LLC for Cocoa Palace, 2530 South Louise Avenue. That would be pending corrections per fire. Royal Financial LLC for Winners Circle Casino, northwest corner of Madison and Marion. That would be pending final inspection per fire, health, and building services. And Youth Enrichment Services, Inc. for Burnside Bingo, 1605 West Burnside Street, and that would be pending corrections per fire. We also have a number of these on this list that have had underage sales in this past year. Lieutenant Steve Haney is also here this evening, and he had sent out an email explaining a little bit about the procedure for a police sting, and of course he can answer questions on that. Also, we have representatives here from each of the businesses, if you would like to speak to them, and they did submit their management plans, which were sent to you last week for review. They were also reviewed by Police Officer Greg Schmidt, and he signed off on the plans. And then also as part of the exhibit, it shows a 5-year history of each particular location, and then those businesses that have more than one location, for instance, just to use one on the list for an example, Olson Oil Company has a number of stores, and I listed all of the stores so you could see the history for all of their locations. We can start with the first one, retail malt beverage for Great Bear Recreation Park, Inc. for Great Bear at 5901 East Rice Street. They had one underage sale in 2010. If you would like to speak to the applicant, he is here. If not, we can move on.
Councilor Jameson.
Yes, Lori, I think we should hear from the applicant on each of these cases.
Okay, that's great. Dan Greider is here then representing Great Bear. So Dan, wherever you are, there he is.
Folks, before we start, Lori, would you mind just giving the order, and then we might as well get people ready to go in the spirit of expediency.
All right, after the Great Bear, we will have Dave Grevlos from the Grevco stores. Hy-Vee, I did not get the name of their representative called in, so hopefully they have someone here. Laverne Supermarkets will be next, and that will be Bob Connor and Todd Schumann. And then Olson Oil Company will be Craig Herman. And then we have CFJ, which is the Flying J, that will be Mike Jones. And then for Freedom Value Centers, we have Lindy Swadine and Jerry Doherty. So we'll start with the representative from Great Bear.
Thank you.
I'm the logger Dan Greider, but instead Stephen Sanford, 4701 Twin Ridge Road here in Sioux Falls. I'm president of Great Bear Recreation Park, Inc., the nonprofit manager of Great Bear Park. I'm just here to answer any questions, but first to say that obviously, given our fiduciary responsibility to the city, having even the smallest glitch in this area of our work is both serious and embarrassing, particularly embarrassing to me since the buck sort of stops with me. But we have, and what we had was sort of a problem squared in the sense that we had an employee serve an underage employee at our little tavern facility within the building, and as soon as we found out about that, both employees were immediately terminated, and then we've been working with city officials to develop an enhanced management plan. In particular, one of our management people, Jill Liddall, has become a TAM instructor, not just completed the course, but has become an instructor and will be involved in instructing and educating our people who are involved in this aspect of our business. And if there are other questions about our new management plan, I'd sure be happy to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Sanford.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dave Greblos, if you could make your way up. This one is for Grevco Inc. for packaged malt beverage for Shop and Cart North, 1029 North Minnesota Avenue, and they had one violation in 2010.
Then Lori Hy-Vee is next. After that.
Well, I think I have, if I do them alphabetically, I have Grevco next. Is
Grevco?
that okay? Yeah.
And
Grevco.
then after that.
All right.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Dave Grevlis, Grevco Incorporated, Shop and Cart Stores. Everybody behind me is going to be saying the same things. We're all doing what we can. And in my case, I can only speak for myself for sure, that our policies work in the upper 90 percentile. In the last 2 years, I've passed sting after sting after sting at my 6 locations, except for this one incident. And to prove our policy works, I have 2 stores that have never failed a sting in the history of Sioux Falls stings. The same policies I use everywhere. The difference is the employee behind the cash register. And this particular store I'm speaking of tonight has been my worst. And I had 2, I believe 3 years ago, and then I decided that was something had to change. So I figured the only thing different about that store is it could be they maybe have a little bit of a fear about carding people, and I had some people in there that I didn't think were tough enough. So I went out and found somebody that I thought was tough enough that could take the abuse and not care. And I found her and proved that she passed every sting at that location, and my life was good. And then she had some family problems, had to move out of state, and I knew something was going to be bad. So I found a guy, and I told him the story. I said, this store's been bad. I'm not going to tolerate this. Do you promise you'll be as good as Kim was? Yes, I did. I interviewed him myself. I told him all of our things. I told him I'm going to be watching you. Do not fail a sting or sell to any underage person. The first sting didn't even card the person. He broke his promise to me. Nightmare phone call. And the proof, there's the proof right there. It's not the companies that are the criminals. It is the employee. And I actually went so far, I fired him. I yelled at him. He's actually yelling back at me for yelling at him. These people don't have a conscience. And you don't know it until they fail, until they do something wrong. They make their promises, and you don't know they're going to fail until they do. And I actually fired my manager with him. My manager did nothing wrong. But I thought, you know what, I got to send a message. So he went with him. Great guy. And incidentally, he got hired across the street to sell beer across the street after that, which is fine. I had no problem with that. But this is what really happens. And I've now got a great crew over there. And, you know, in the real life situations, us retailers are working diligently to keep these things from happening. And we are getting in verbal confrontations all the time with customers, and we can deal with it. And if we can't, we shouldn't be in the position of selling alcohol. We're very responsible. But I've been searching for what I think is something that I think would really solve our problems. And I think I found it. And I got a little toy here I'm going to show you. I've been waiting for this for a long time. About 5 years ago, I had a company promise me they had a machine that could tell us if the people were old enough. I was all excited. It came to my store. It didn't work. The South Dakota IDs did not work in it. Kind of a waste of time when you're doing business in South Dakota. So continued my research, and I found this. And this is kind of new on the market. And I think my employees can figure this out. I'm going to show you a valid ID first. This happens to be mine. If I don't look at it, I am over 21. Just push this in, and you'll see green lights come on. And it says, green light means good. It says good for alcohol and tobacco. This keeps track of both. Okay? They can make the sale. Now I stole somebody's ID today that was underage. So you put this in there. Now you got red lights coming on. Now that's pretty darn simple. If my employees can find their way to work and not go through a red light getting to work, they should be able to tell the difference between red and green. So I'm very excited about this. I've been playing with it at the stores. The customers are excited about it. They think it's kind of neat. Takes some of the stress away from getting carded. And I've actually caught 2 people that had expired IDs that didn't know it. And I think I'll help the police department by keeping some of these expired IDs out of their hands. But anyway, I really believe you won't see me here again when I have these in all my stores. Thank you.
Mr. Gravelis, thank you. Thanks for the investment as well. Thank you.
Is there a representative from Hy-Vee here? Uh-oh. All right. Nobody's here from Hy-Vee. We'll move on then. Bob and Todd, if you want to come forward. These are for the Sunshine Foods. Sunshine Food at 530 South 2nd, and then Sunshine Foods number 3 at 2700 West 10th. And we have Todd Schuman. You speaking for both?
Yeah. Todd Schuman, Laverne Supermarket, Inc., Sunshine Foods.
Thanks, John.
We have a system in place in our registers. Like he says, it's only good as the people use it. You put the ID, birth date in there, it locks the register up immediately. And I'm passing around our training forms right now, and it shows on there in 2 places. Is all they have to do is put the driver's license into the machine, and it will lock it up. It will not let them sell the liquor or the beer. And we go through training every quarter with our 21-year-olds. And we also now have put in place designated 20-year-old scanners up front. All they do is PR the customers and scan alcohol. So we have the tools in place if the employees use them. It's very easy because we even put up the new licenses in color next to every cash register that sells alcohol to show them that it doesn't have a red background, and they need to punch that license into the register to let them know if they're not sure of the date, and it will lock up. So that's what we have in place.
Councilor Jameson.
Todd, did you say that if a customer wanted to buy alcohol, they could not buy it without having their driver's license entered?
No. If we card them, you take that ID number, that birth date off that license, and put it in the register. It will lock that register up if they're not old enough.
How smart is your system? Meaning, just in thought here, how hard would that system to have in place where you could not sell, and all the other retailers could not sell it unless that data was entered? Would that be just too much in the way? Too much of a...
I'd have to talk to our register companies that install the software register. I mean,
I'm kind of using you as an example.
Sure, that's fine. I understand. Yeah, that system we had is outstanding there.
We're going to have this go on for years and years, and it'll be the same story as I think Dave mentioned. We'll hear it over and over again, but maybe it's too much of a problem with our freedoms to have that kind of data entered, but it just seems logical that you just couldn't sell it unless the card was swiped, and that would eliminate all the problems.
Sure.
Doug, you think that's crazy talk, or is that possible? Why hasn't somebody created that? There must be a reason. Maybe we'll ponder that longer, but
sure.
I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, and thank you guys. We do. And the police, we catch dozens and dozens and dozens of underage minors stealing alcohol from us every year. So it isn't like we want to sell to underage people. We work with them to catch them, too. We catch a lot of them. So I just wanted to bring that point up, too.
Councilor Urbanbach.
Just one question, Todd. Remind us what your company does when a cashier is caught selling.
They're terminated immediately.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the lady that got caught in my sting was with me for 14 years. She'd passed them before. You know, just that one time with that new license, she didn't take that step to punch that date in the register. That's all it took. And, you know, she was a great person, but she was terminated within 2 minutes. You know, and we tell our people, too, if you're not comfortable scanning alcohol, don't. We have plenty of people who can do it. I have managers there, assistant managers, me. You know, even if they're over 21 and they're not comfortable with it, we don't make them do it. You know, it's not required by at all. We'll come up and do it. So I just want to let you know that. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Craig? All right. Olson Oil Company, Get and Go, number 202421 South Minnesota Avenue.
Thank you. My name is Craig Herman. I'm an area supervisor representing Olson Oil, and I guess I would be open to any questions that you have. I know our management plan has been submitted, so I won't bore you with the details unless you have a specific question.
Councilor Brown.
Why don't you give us the 30-second highlight of what happened?
Okay. Basically, we had a employee that had, what we do with all of our employees, they go through an orientation at our corporate office. We go over our employee handbook, our policy on carding and alcohol and tobacco sales. And then they also have to go through a CAS certification, which is Certified Alcohol Sales Training, which is authorized by the state. They're required to do that. We typically have at least one training per week, but we try to have it at least a couple times a week where they go through that CAS training before they're ever able to sell alcohol for the first time. In this case, the gentleman had been certified in alcohol training, didn't follow our policy and procedures as far as our registers. When they ring up an alcohol or tobacco sale, it beeps at them and says, is this person old enough? And then it brings up the date that they should have been born before, and they have to either answer that yes they are or no they aren't. If they answer no they aren't, then it voids the sale off and won't let them ring up to go any further in that transaction. That person didn't follow those procedures, didn't ask for an ID, or didn't punch in the date off the ID, and unfortunately made a mistake, and he went through the process of being ticketed, and we went through the court process and paid the fines that were associated with that. And we do, our policy is we do give them a second chance, knowing that people unfortunately make mistakes. So if they do sell, they have to go through that CAS training again, go through the alcohol certification process again. If there is a second one, either internally or citywide, because we do internal stings approximately once a month within the company. And that person has passed numerous stings since that, or a couple anyway.
Mr. Herman, thank you.
You bet.
All right, the next one then is for CFJ Properties, Flying J Convenience Store, 5201 North Granite Lane, and Mike Jones is representing Flying J.
I believe you all have copies of my plan from our company. I'd just like to add a few things and then answer any questions you may have. We do have similar steps in our processes. The registers do bring up whether it's tobacco or alcohol, the date that must be, it's a separate screen, be born on before. And our policy is termination for anybody, whether it's myself or any new time cashier. If you violate the policy, you're terminated immediately on the spot. Obviously, we had a problem, and the best way we feel to prevent or to solve a problem is to prevent it. And I didn't put it on the plan, but we try to hire, we go through a few extra steps on just hiring and then on training our employees. We do a pre-screen, which I'm sure many other companies do. So it was by, it's by Connexin now, it was by Choice Point, to kind of screen the integrity and the ethics of people and other things. We do criminal background check, we do credit background check, and we do hair drug test, mandatory on all people before we can even hire them, to try and get more, I think, mature and responsible people. But the bottom line, I think it still comes down to whether we have the tools or different equipment. Sometimes I'm just baffled. We've lost some employees that, not on this thing, one of our previous ones, she recognized a red ID, called the manager over, he said, "Do not sell." Refuse it. We refuse anyone if the cashier is not comfortable or there's no ID or they just don't feel good about it. We back and support them not selling. But this lady, middle-aged, about, the supervisor went back to his station and she sold it. And I can't speak for that other than we really try to do prevention and encourage them. We want them to be happy and enjoy their employment at Flying J, try to make it a good place to work. Because the better employees then make better customer service. But I like some of these ideas too, swiping the cards and things might be other ways to look at it. But answer any questions you have or anything we can do to improve that.
Councilor Jameson.
Lori, do I have this right? 4 out of the 5 last years we've had a violation? Is that?
Nope, sorry.
That is correct. There was an underage sale in 2006, 7, 8, and 10. So 4 out of the last 5.
And the one that happened in 10 just happened?
That was on March 10th, so just a couple months ago.
So there's a lot of the year left.
There's a lot of the year left, yes.
Mike, I just got to say, I guess I don't know what to say, but I'm just saying this is exactly what we have to prevent and stop. Is I hate to say it like this, but it's operators that are doing it just like this. You can't do it like this. And I don't want to stand here and pound you on the head, but I think it's going to be pretty difficult for us to sit here and say, oh, well, that's okay. That's all right. We'll see them here next year, and then that'll be okay. Sooner or later, we got to draw the line. And I'm concerned that you may have passed the line, at least in my book. You have. And I know we can't deny you, but we can sure recommend that the Department of Revenue do it. Given that severity, I mean, a 14-day suspension of liquor or sales, I mean, what else could you do differently that you're not doing to change this pattern of behavior, I guess?
We talked about this. The state monitors this, and Lori can probably clarify this better than I can. If you violate 3 times in 24 months, then they will suspend or will look at doing that. I asked him how that worked then, because you're looking at it, it's 4 out of 5 years, but after 3 years, if I think the October is their year, if there hasn't been any violation, then they drop the last one and it rotates, so there's a 3 years. But some of the things that have been brought up here, and like I say, we try to apply that, and we've talked about it in our manager meetings. Some of the things we feel, because it's so repetitive, sometimes people become complacent. And we take new signs up, we'll talk to them different each day, we may go up and remind them to try and make it a different atmosphere and also impress upon the importance of it. Because it comes down to the diligence of the operator. We can have the best equipment, but if they just get complacent, and that's why there's such a severe penalty on us, if we do violate it, we're terminated. To try and help people understand that it's a serious business, because in Sioux Falls, the cashier is liable for a misdemeanor, and I believe the captain can correct me if I'm wrong, up to $500 fine and 30 days in jail. And then we face, on this one, we faced a $2,000 fine. We take it very seriously, but this has been very frustrating for us in the sense we feel we try and give them the best tools we can and the best training and review it.
Councilor Brown.
Any idea why your record is so much worse than any of the others we looked at tonight?
No, the one I mentioned is, she even recognized it as a red driver's license and still did it. I just don't know. Like I say, we try to hire people that we feel have a sense of conscientiousness about following policies and procedures, customer-friendly and oriented, but don't bend rules. We had 3 years before that with no violations when we opened, but I don't know if it's the economy had some effect. I'm not trying to make excuse or blame. It's just they told us beer sales go up when the economy's blue.
Councilor Emerson Jr.
Question for either Lori or Chief Bartel. After going over their security plan and that, is there any other recommendations you might have for this business to help alleviate this problem?
Steve Haney, Lieutenant with the City of Sioux Falls. The problem with Flying J and their 4 violations is that the employee had checked the ID and still made the sale. So whatever machine you could purchase or whatever device that you would have at Flying J, I think it comes down to the, I'll say it, the people that they're hiring, they're checking the IDs, but they're still making the sale. So the state makes it very easy. Under the age of 21, red ID. So I think there has to be another program here for this business to educate their employees and to make sure that they follow through their policies, because right now you have policy failure at Flying J.
Thank you.
The security management plans that are submitted have all been signed off by Officer Greg Schmidt in the police department, and they come in a variety of sizes and information that comes with the plans. Most of these are around 20 pages or so. Olson Oil has a very comprehensive plan, and of course that doesn't prevent underage sales, but the Flying J plan, this is it right here, and so maybe they could expand on that a little bit. Even though it was signed off, it's pretty short. Maybe there could be some things they could add to that as well. There's not much to it, yeah.
We didn't try to print off everything. In the alcohol training for the employees, there's a National Association of Convenience Stores has a TAM, Tobacco Alcohol Management. It's an hour computerized program they have to pass. They can't do it. We also have shorter Flying J, 30 minutes approximately, South Dakota specifically, training for alcohol. And then we also have the weed card, tobacco. They go through a series of computerized versions. We also sit down with them as a manager in our orientation and go through our handbook. I didn't include a copy of that with that. It's about 40 some odd pages. I created a thing. I didn't mean to do that, and I'm not trying to make an excuse. It's just I didn't turn in all the documentation and the plan, but it's a very lengthy training process and very detailed. So I'm not trying to be critical of that. Just if they want us to turn in more, we can definitely do that.
Councilor Litz.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. We've already moved to approve all these permits, so if I was to offer a substitute motion, it would now be the time to do that.
Yeah.
If I may, you could also make an amendment to make a change to the overall motion.
If I
I'd defer to the city attorney as to the appropriateness of.
Well, I'll defer to the clerk, who's the parliamentarian.
Very good.
Thank you. I think that the purpose of your amendment is to vote on item number 16 separately.
That's correct.
You could amend your motion by approving 4 through 15, and then we'll make a motion on item 16 after you vote.
Well, I'd like to make the amendment to the original motion to approve items 1 through 15 and then vote on 16 separately.
Second, Aguilar.
There's been an amendment proposed by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Aguilar, to treat items 4 through 15 separately, vote on them separately, and then we'll move on to item 16. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, if I could have a vote on the amendment, please. Thank you.
Council members Intamin,
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
The amendment is passed 8-0.
Do you have any other questions for me? I'll get that.
I don't think so.
Deborah? I'm sorry.
We've voted on the amended motion. Do we need to vote on the main motion now as well?
Counselor Jameson?
Move to approve item 16.
Second Anderson.
There's been a motion to approve item 16 separately.
Point of
by
order. I believe.
Counselor Jameson, seconded by Counselor Anderson, Jr.
No, I'm sorry, if I will. I think that was just, we've approved the amended motion. Now we need to go back to that main motion as amended and approve that with the omission of item 16.
Correct.
Okay.
Items 4 through 15.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yes. 4 through 15.
Okay.
Council members Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Deborah, thank you. That has passed 8-0, so that means items 4 through 15 have been approved. Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate that. Now we are on item 16 separately. Is there a motion to approve item 16?
So move, Entman.
Second Anderson.
Counselor Enderman has made a motion to approve item 16, seconded by Counselor Anderson, Jr. Any discussion, please?
I'd like to make a substitute motion, Mayor, if I could.
Please do.
That the license renewal, that we recommend to the Secretary of Revenue that the license be suspended. That's our recommendation. I don't know if I'm terming that right, but
Suspended or not renewed?
Right. Counselor Jameson, the law on these alcohol license renewals are not the clearest, and I think you might have read that in a memo I sent you. There is a state law on, there has to be a 30-day notice to the renewal applicant if the council is going to vote to recommend suspension or revocation. Flying J has had 2 weeks' notice, not 30 days at this point in time. So you could vote to recommend revocation or suspension, but we would have to postpone it down the road so that the 30 days is run. Couldn't vote on it tonight since they haven't had 30 days' notice. Now, you can vote not to renew tonight.
Deborah, if I could ask, we had a substitute motion that was not seconded, so I don't even think we probably should even have that discussion. So my apologies. I need to take control of this. We had a substitute motion by Councilor Jameson. Do I have a second on that?
Would you please restate what Councilor Jameson said?
that might be difficult. Let me just make sure I got this right, because I think in the interest of what we're after tonight is, first off, we'd like to make I think the idea is to defer this for 30 days or defer it for whatever it takes to get to our 30-day deadline, 2 weeks. That's initially what we want to do. We want to do it to the Hy-Vee item, the Hy-Vee item and the Flying J item, both of those.
Because you are recommending?
Well, we'd like to hear from the Hy-Vee operator, and they weren't here tonight.
Would you just like to defer the Hy-Vee item?
Sure.
Instead of recommending
Yes,
to start the suspension process? Okay. So defer Hy-Vee for 30 days. And just to make you aware, since they did make application prior to the expiration of their license, which is June 30th, they can continue to operate until we have that hearing in July.
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
Right now, we are on the motion that was submitted by Councilor Entman, seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr., to approve item 16 separately. So we're on that. That's why we are allowing discussion. I think Councilor Jameson is trying to determine if he would like to make either a substitute motion or an amendment, and we're going to allow him some time.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I think we
Councilor
need to
Rolfe.
hear from the rest of the people on this on this list before we do that, probably, if we can finish up the discussion and get to the freedom people before we make those determinations as to what we want to pull out and what we don't. Might be a good idea.
Yeah. There is one more on the list yet,
Yes.
if you would like to hear from them.
Yeah, let's do that. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Jameson.
in all this clarity, I'd like to just to suspend my motion and finish on the business at hand, and then we'll get our motions in order and recap
All
this
right.
evening.
That sounds good.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Councilor Jameson.
If we can have Lindy Swadine and Jerry Doherty come forward, and this is for the Freedom Value Centers, Erickson Value Center number 9, 1601 South Minnesota Avenue.
Lindy Swadine, District Manager for Freedom Value. I'll just reiterate the same thing that everyone else has been saying. We do have a policy in place. We are a family-owned company. We do not want to serve two minors. That is not our intent as a business. We do go through extensive training. We card. We do have other training videos that we do as a company. Our employees do sign off on a paper when they are hired that they will follow the procedures of the company and of our government. I guess what I want to do is I want to read a letter that Jerry wrote to our owner and company. I apologize for my voice. I just want you to understand the kind of people. I think people get the idea that these people that we hire are not good people, but they really are good people. And I just want to read this, and you're welcome to ask questions after. This was to our owner, David Erickson, from our store manager. Again, I apologize for my associate's lapse in judgment. More than saddened, I am shocked. As I told you last night, Jeremy would have been the last associate I would have ever worried about failing. Jeremy was TAM certified and company mandated we card certified. Not only did Jeremy pass an alcohol sting on March 26, 2009, he was congratulated by an undercover officer about 6 months before that. Jeremy had been training a new person when he stopped her from making a sale before carding. The officer was further back in line and came forward and thanked Jeremy and admonished him about the importance of carding for beer. Jeremy feels terrible about letting us and himself down. Jeremy has also been so responsible and didn't hesitate to call me immediately to confess his carelessness and apologize. Jeremy's full-time job is an overnight supervisor of meds distribution at Sanford Hospital, so he's obviously no slacker. I try to get everyone to actually key the birth date in rather than just hit enter, just to avoid this mistake. And we will stress this new program from here on out. And I will also add to that that after this occurrence did occur, both locations of Freedom here in Sioux Falls and across eastern South Dakota now have that key in where they have to enter the birth date on the driver's license. And that will then tell us if we can or cannot sell it to that person.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This just is a little unusual that we're doing what they're proposing what and I think Mr. Litz is after tonight, so we're a little confused on just how to do that. But I'd like to make a motion to amend by deferring the Hy-Vee to July 6th and Flying J to July 19th. Would that meet our timelines?
The Flying J, you would like to start the suspension process or the revocation process, is that correct?
Just deferring the action until July 19th.
Deferring action, okay.
That'll give us the 30 days, right?
Well, we don't need 30 days just to defer action. The 30 days is if the council wishes to suspend or revoke the license. In this case, it hasn't actually been approved yet for 2010, 2011. Maybe Gail can
Right. If the motion is to renew or not renew, that can be dealt with tonight. It can be
Yes.
voted on tonight. If the council is anticipating they want to or may want to move to recommend revocation or suspension of the license to the Secretary of Revenue, that's the action that requires 30-day notice under the state law. So you can act on renewal tonight. The notice requirements have been met. But if you're contemplating that or recommendation of suspension or revocation is what the council wants to do, that's where you got to have 30 days notice given to the applicant.
Let's just make that so. Could you do that?
I guess you would move to defer or postpone until 30 days is run, postpone the hearing until 30 days has run from June 7th. And then the hearing could reconvene on a recommendation to suspend or revoke.
Yes, and if I could add, what we would be doing at that hearing would be action to renew the license, and then we'll have to work out the details, but normally a revocation or a suspension occurs mid-year. Right now is the time that we're choosing to say, yes, you can continue selling after July 1 or you cannot.
Right now, and I'm sorry, Deborah, right now we do have an amendment to defer Hy-Vee to July 6th and the Flying J consideration to July 19th. I don't have a second yet on that. Is there a second on that? I don't have a second on that. So we're back to the original motion by Councilor Entman and Councilor Anderson Jr., and that is to review and approve the various retail malt beverage licenses that we've been discussing here tonight.
Let's deal with them one at a time. First of all, I'll move to amend by postponing Hy-Vee until July 6th.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you. Councilor Brown has made a motion to amend to defer Hy-Vee to July 6th. It was also seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Any discussion on that?
Mr. Mayor, we would just be asking the representative from that business then to come and speak to us as those businesses have tonight. Is that correct, Lori?
That's correct. They have received several notices, and one specifically telling them they needed to be here, and I will send that again by certified mail. So, yes, that's what we'll ask, for them to be here. Thank you.
Councilor Lutz?
I was just going to, we need to vote on this part here first, and then I have another motion that I'd like to introduce.
If we could vote on the amendment to defer Hy-Vee to July 6th. All those in favor, please say aye, or please vote yes, and those opposed vote no. Thank you.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Another motion to defer?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Litz?
I don't know if I want to defer. What I would do is, and I count on somebody telling me if I can do this or not, is I would like to make a motion or an amendment to our motion to not renew due to the suitable location criteria. I think that the truck stop kind of, the people feel like they're a separate island out there sitting on the edge of the interstate and then the edge of the city, and are evidently immune to the tethers that moor the rest of the alcohol community down to legal selling of alcohol or not. So that would be my motion, is to vote not to renew due to the suitable location criteria.
Second, Erpenbach.
There's been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach, to not renew the Flying J license.
Lori,
Discussion. Councilor Aguilar.
Lori, could you explain what that means?
Well, what that would mean is that their license in their convenience store, and they have two separate licenses, a convenience store license, and then they have a license in the restaurant area, which is a retail on sale. Now, I will tell you that is retail on off sale, so they can sell out of the restaurant to go. But this particular license in the convenience store, they would need to, the last day they could sell out of there then would be June 30th. And as of July 1st, the beer would need to be removed out of the convenience store.
And then what could they do to try to get the license back?
There's a waiting period. I would need to look at the state law on how long that waiting period is.
Councilor Brown.
Gail, any concerns legally? Are we in order?
Yes, if you're voting on renewal, that can be done tonight.
Sir, did you have a comment you'd like to make? Please, come on up.
I don't know, sitting back there.
Sir, could you just state your name, please?
My name's Tim Stanga.
Thanks, Tim.
Listening to all these store owners, and they've got everything put together on selling alcohol, trying to get their employees to do what they want them to do. I don't know what the fine is. I don't know, what it is for the person that sells the alcohol to the minor. But why don't we make it a little bit harder on them? Why don't we, alcoholics have to go to a treatment course, or drug addicts go to a treatment course. The person that sells the alcohol to a minor, maybe they should have to go to a course to find out, what happens. Car accidents happen, showing them things that this could happen if you sell to a minor. Instead of coming back on these guys here, I mean, they're doing everything they can do. And common sense tells me that we have to look at it a little bit differently. We have to come at it in a different approach. The person that is selling the alcohol, it isn't these guys out here. It's the employee. And what we have to do is set up something to where that employee has to go through some kind of a training process through either the city of Sioux Falls or the state of South Dakota, to let them realize that we're not going to let you off the hook that easy. You're not going to go to another store and sell alcohol, because you should be dealt with here. And I don't know. Is it right to take one license from another one just because of an employee? I don't believe so. I mean, I grew up, I know Bob and all you guys, we were buying alcohol at 16. So I know what it's like being able to buy underage.
My parents are teachers.
But come on, Bob, admit it. But I mean, I'm looking at it as we have to look at the employees are doing what they can do.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Lori, did you have another comment?
I do. I have the answer for Councilmember Aguilar. The waiting period is a year.
Councilor Jameson.
Bob, if I could ask Councilor Litz, I mean, your substitute motion here is, or amended motion, whatever, it's a little harsh. I mean, it's kind of not a killer, but it's my intention was to kind of beat him along the head, but you're kind of really doing it. I'm just concerned, maybe, that you're going too far. Are you comfortable with the year?
Well, to that, I would just ask you, if your nephew Luke had bought some alcohol and died in a car accident, would you feel any differently?
Well, trust me, I brought this up because I was annoyed with the problem, but I'm just trying to...
Greg, I see just happening too many times, and that's, that irritates me. It's troublesome to me, and I think that, we need to do something here. And if this message here gets out to other people that have liquor licenses that are selling to minors, so be it. I don't think this is going to make or break their business, to be honest with you. It would take the beer out of the C-store at a truck stop, where people drive in and drive back out. I don't have a problem with it, or I wouldn't have proposed it, sir.
Councilor Jameson, any final words? Councilor Rippenbach, Councilor Brown.
Clarification, and I did read Gail's memo to us from earlier this week, but remind us, are we recommending to the Department of Revenue that this be either suspended or revoked, or are we making the final choice?
If you're voting not to renew or to renew, you're making the final decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There has been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach, not to review the Flying J malt beverage or liquor license. There are no further comments on that. If we could vote on that, please.
Councilmembers Intiman,
No.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
No.
Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
No.
Aguilar,
No.
Anderson,
No.
Brown.
Yes.
That motion not to review has been defeated by a vote of 3 to 5. Now back on the main motion. Any further comments? Yes, Councilor Jameson.
Okay, a substitute or amendment to the motion. Gail, could you just fill in the blank for me so that we enact a recommendation, whatever it takes to get there, that this applicant go through the process?
Well, I feel like I'm back in law class, and I'm put on the spot here. But I guess if I were the council, I would, or a council member, and what that council member contemplated was a hearing where the council could decide whether to recommend suspension or revocation of this alcohol license. They would make a motion to postpone this hearing to a definite date that is 30 days down the line from when notice was first given to this applicant, which is, as my understanding, was June 7th. So I guess it would be postponed to the definite date of the council meeting for the first date after July 7th. And I think that's counting out 30 days.
That is my motion. That is my motion.
Good job, Jamie.
Second Aguilar.
Before we proceed, Deborah, with your permission, if you wouldn't mind, or Gail, if you wouldn't mind, trying to put that into some succinct words, please.
I'm just trying to decide if my mic is even on here. Okay. The motion would be to postpone definitely the hearing on the Flying J alcohol license until July 12th, 2010.
There's been a motion by Councilor Jameson to postpone definitely the hearing on the Flying J alcohol license until July 12th, 2010. And it was seconded by Councilor Aguilar, is that correct? Thank you.
Mayor?
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Can I ask a question of the city attorney? Gail, should that also be with the intent to recommend a suspension so that we can send out a letter, or does that not have to be stated?
That could be part of the motion, to
So that there's an intent, so that
hold a hearing on a recommendation of suspension or revocation.
That way we cover our 30 days?
Certainly.
Okay.
Let's do it this way. So then if I could, Mayor, was the purpose of the motion was to state all that you had stated prior to with the July 12th, 2010, adding the notice of suspension for revocation?
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion by Councilor Jameson, seconded by Councilor Aguilar, is to postpone definitely the hearing on the Flying J alcohol license until July 12, 2010, with the intent of adding a notice of suspension or revocation of that license. Is there any discussion on that motion? Sir, come on up, please. Thank you. Thank you. And please just restate your name, just for the
Mike
audience.
Jones. I just, when you're all done, I just want to know what it means to me, because I kind of get a little turned around, too.
And Mr. John,
so
I think that's fair. Lori, would you please, or Gail, if you wouldn't mind. Mr. Jones is here representing the Flying J tonight.
Yes.
And he has asked, how will this impact him or his business?
Well, I just mean when you're done with all your motions, I just want to
Well,
make
that's
sure I
what
have
we're
it
going to try to
straight.
answer here. Okay, right now, the item before you is to renew the license, which expires June 30th. However, the applicant made application to renew prior to June 30, meaning that the license can continue. So really, and maybe Gail could add to this, but it would seem to me that nothing would change for the applicant at this time, but he would be put on notice that things could change. He could have a suspension or a termination of that license at the meeting on July 12th.
I would agree with that. So the Flying J representative needs to be back at the council meeting on July 12th.
Yes.
Mr. Jones, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I just was wondering if you were to...
Thank you.
You just voted to suspend what you were going to do today, either approve or disapprove of the license until July 12th. Then you'll do a vote again, right? Is that what?
Not quite.
I mean, to say whether to suspend or not to suspend?
Lori?
Vote.
Right. What we'll do is your license runs through June 30th, but you did apply to renew prior to June 30th. So it will continue until such time as we have the hearing on the 12th. And then this is your notice that your license may be suspended or revoked, or if they choose to renew on July 12th. So business, you can continue to operate, but you do need to be here and prepared on July 12th.
Okay.
Does that help?
Thank you.
Okay.
Gail, Lori, thank you. Great job. Hearing no other discussion or seeing no requests for further discussion, we are going to vote on the Jameson motion, seconded by Aguilar, to postpone definitely the hearing on the Flying J, their alcohol license, until July 12, 2010, adding that at that time we will decide whether to suspend, revoke, or approve their license. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmembers Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Is there any further discussion on item 16, which is to pass the other malt beverage licenses that have been discussed tonight? Deborah, am I okay? Hearing no other discussion or any other requests, we'll vote on item 16. As amended. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jamie.
Councilmembers Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. I'm going to speak just very briefly for the city. I think the city council has sent a message to those folks who wish to sell liquor in the city of Sioux Falls. You better follow the rules. The city council will have no patience for it if you do not. Councilor Jameson, I with your permit, I hope you don't mind, I sent that message.
Very good.
Thank you. Item 17.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Section 27-41 of Article 3 of Chapter 27, Parks and Recreation of the revised ordinances of the city by revising recreation and facility fees.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Erpenbach.
Second, Jameson.
It has been moved by Councilor Urbanbach, seconded by Councilor Jameson. Please, Don.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. Before you is an ordinance to approve several recreation programs and services and the fees we charge for those, as well as add a new fee for shelter reservations. This is the same presentation we had at first reading and obviously at the informational briefing over the last couple weeks. Many of the fees that we're considering before you tonight have not been increased for the last 10 years or so. When establishing this proposed fee ordinance, We did quite a bit of research in the other communities and what they charge for their programs and services. And the research that we found is that many of the services that we currently provide and are proposing to you tonight are well below those benchmarks of other communities across the state and in the region. If approved, the proposed fees would provide an additional $175,000 in revenue based on our 2009 actual usage figures. In April, the Parks and Recreation Board, a couple of our members are in the audience tonight, did approve unanimously the proposed fee ordinance and recommend the same to the mayor and the city council. The presentation, which I've presented to you obviously twice already, is available should you have questions on a particular chart or graph that we have. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Councilor Jameson.
Don, do you have those charts with you?
I do.
Could you just put up a summary sheet of all the...
Sure. Is that the one you were looking for?
Do you have another one that shows each item and the...
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Would you like me to go through the individual slides? Or?
No, if you just have the summary one that shows each one. I think I see it online, but just to share with everybody here.
That summarizes the... is that the one you're looking for?
Well, maybe you could just state then that the daily pass is going to go up to what, and each item, if you could just...
Sure, I could scroll through those quickly if you'd like.
Just
go through those individual increases. Okay, we'll do. The family swim pass as proposed would go to from $50 to $70. The adult season pass for aquatic facilities would go from $30 to $45. The child season pass would go from $10 to $15. The senior pass would go from $20 to $30 as proposed. At our traditional aquatic facilities such as Frank Olson and Spellerberg, the fee would go from $1 to $2 for a child. At our aquatic centers, the child admission rate would go from $2 to $3. The adult daily admission rate would go from $3 to $4. The senior daily admission rate would go from $2 to $3. Then we move on to league fees. Our sand volleyball league fees would go from $50 to $75. Our indoor volleyball league fees would go from $85 to $120. Our proposed kickball league fees would go from $50 to $75. And the new fee that we are proposing would go from, we currently do not charge for shelters, and the reservation fee would go to $25. And I would also like to note that none of the free programs or reduced programs for swimming passes were impacted by these fee proposals. And as a reminder, in 2009, we did issue more free passes than we actually sold.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Oh, Councilor Litz.
Well, no for the discussion, but I would like to make a change to Don's proposals. And Don, you know I support you, and I think you've done a terrific job down there. I know that we've been pretty tough on your budget for 2 years now, anticipating the economic downturn, but I still feel strong about the walk-up kids, those kids who make that spur-of-the-moment decision to go swimming, because, like I said, it's some of the only scrubbing some of them get. It also provides, all-day somebody being supervised, somebody supervising them all day long. And I know that's not our intent, but that's the reality of the thing. So what I would like to do is offer some sort of a motion here to approve all of the things that Don has approved except the 2 pools when kids walk up. And I think one of them, the swimming pool itself was at $1, raised it to $2, I'd like to keep it at $1, and the aquatic centers were $2 going up to $3, and I'd like to keep that at $2. That would be my motion or substitute motion or amendment, I guess.
There is an amendment to...
Deborah likes amendment?
There's an amendment to the motion by Councilor Urbanbach and Councilor Jameson. The amendment has been proposed by Councilor Litz to leave all the fees as proposed by the Parks Department and Department Head Don Carney the same, except for 2, and that it involves the walk-up fees. Is there a second on that?
Second, Anderson.
Seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr. Any discussion? Councilor Jameson?
Don, could you quantify that change if that happened on that big picture of 175 annually? Do you have any feel for what that would affect your budget?
I can try here. I don't think I can right off the top of my head without going back and looking at doing some number crunching. But obviously, if you go to that summary slide of the finances and the revenues that it would generate, it'll have a pretty significant impact because the majority of our walk-up traffic will be children, and so it will significantly reduce the daily admission fee increases. One more, if you could. 2 more. Right there. The daily admission fee increases would significantly drop because the majority of our traffic is from children at both family aquatic centers and at our traditional pools. But I would say it's probably in that $35,000 range. It'll probably drop that much from. And so you'd have about a $140,000 increase overall. That's an estimate just without looking at the actual figures. Sounds like Dave's got it.
Well, nobody has a calculator, but in looking at some of the information that I brought, Dave Fisher with Parks and Recreation, by the way, and it looks like Don is real close. It's going to be in the neighborhood of $35,000 to $40,000.
Councilor Jameson.
Don, the fee for the shelters. Tell me how much management that takes on your part and your staff to take care of that. Those people who reserve that, is that all done online? Is it automated, or is there a task at hand that you're trying to cover with that $25 fee?
The typical process is, well, to start out with, we do about 2,000 shelter reservations a year. And one of the things that we are challenged with a little bit in the shelter reservations is that I asked our staff this morning because I anticipated some of these questions about the shelter reservations, and they anticipate that 1/3 of all reservations are changed at least one time. That they'll go in and make multiple reservations at multiple locations because it's free. There is no cost to do it. And there is no cancellation fee. There's quite a bit of time and effort going back in and changing those multiple times. I will tell you, though, for the first time this year, we were able to start the online registration process, the reservation process, so that's helped a little bit. But realize, again, there's no penalty for making 15 reservations at 15 different parks and then canceling them or just not using them. And just so that you know that that's out there, but the process is one where you can either do it online or you can call it in to our office, which typically folks that don't have access to the internet do, and they'll make the reservation. Prior to the reservation, we'll actually print out the list of 40 or 50 reservations we have that particular weekend. Our card is made up for each individual reservation. That's posted by our staff, and then that facility is also inspected by our staff to make sure that it's clean, that tables are in the area of the shelter, that it's presentable for use by the general public. And then if there's another reservation later that day, especially we know that we've had a big reservation there, because we actually asked for the number of people that will be in that party, we'll go out clean that that shelter again and make sure that it's ready to go as well. The other thing I'd mention to you is that there are several shelters that are not rented. For example, at our sports complexes at Harmadon or Sherman, those facilities aren't rented because there's so much activity going on there, just from the ball teams and the families that are there for those activities. Some of the other smaller ones are not rented either. For example, at our Elman Trailhead, we don't rent that facility out. It's intended to be used for those that are using the trail system itself. So there are several that aren't rented, but there are 39 that actually are rented. So hopefully that helps.
Councilor Jameson.
If I could just follow up, Don, do you think is there ever a case where they're just all booked? And then if I were to call and want a reserve, they'd just be booked and I couldn't find one anywhere in town?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Councilor Entman.
Speaking to that, we have an occasionally to rent multiple shelters for events that we have going on, specifically for Hot Harley Nights when we do that event in town. I must say that his staff does a super job and it's the first day that we can do it, we get online or we give them a call and we get our spots reserved, because just like in the state parks, in a lot of these cases, they have a backup list and a waiting list to get on and to utilize these shelter areas. I believe that they do a very fine job. They're in contact with the people constantly. Looking at all the fees that Don has proposed, I guess along with Mr. Litz and Mr. Anderson, the one fees that I think that we need to look at are the walk-up swim fees that we recommended the change to. Otherwise, the fact is, it's costing us money to operate, and with the short budget and stuff that we've had, and Don had to go in and find additional savings this year, I think I'm very safe and very comfortable with most of the fee structures that he's requested here. But the one that I do have the problem with is with the kids with the swimming, and that's the way that I'm going to vote too.
Councilor Rippenbach.
I guess I would just add to the comments about the shelter reservation system. My mother's picture window looks out on one of the major park shelters, and I would just share with you briefly some of the costs that are involved for reserving that for free. We see staff go in there ahead of large reservations. We see them clean up. We see them set up tables. And then we see people bring their big 4x4 pickups, drive on the city turf, haul in large barbecue cookers and park them on there for a period of time. This weekend, and God bless them, the ambulance crew was parked on the turf and the Avera helicopter landed in the park. And we are then expected to keep the grass green and the turf healthy, but there is no cost to these folks to using the picnic shelter. I do not begrudge them the use of the shelter in any way, but then the staff goes in and cleans up after them because it was a huge group. They don't necessarily clean up after themselves every time, and another group came right after them. It's a hugely used process, and it costs the city a lot of money. $25 to reserve the picnic shelter is not a big deal.
Councilor Brown.
I do have to weigh in a little bit on that. My concern is, because I live near a park and I see a lot of families on limited incomes use those parks for affordable birthday parties for their children, and I do have a concern also with the shelter. I understand what Councilor Erpenbach is talking about, but I also see a number of people who $25 is a lot of money to them, and it would be very difficult maybe to have that money up front to hold a birthday party for their children, or nonprofit organizations that use those. Somehow I think we have to find a balance.
Councilor Litz.
I would just say, in answer to Vernon, when I was younger going to the park, we'd have church picnics and stuff, and there were no shelters available. You just had a picnic table outside under the tree, and that was that, and that's always out there free. So, there's, I guess if you want something a little bit nicer, maybe paying up for it wouldn't be all that bad of an idea. Don, I just hope that I understand your fees coming here tonight, and I hope it passes as I said tonight, and maybe the new mayor will feel sorry for you and up your budget here in a couple years.
So the people at home know I'm not supposed to talk anymore. They reprimanded me after last week. So, Councilor Jameson, please.
Don, if I were to reserve one of these with the new structure, how would I pay for them? Would I all do it online with a credit card?
Yeah, you could do it online. You could also come in and we could process it that way for you as well. You can actually use your credit card, swipe it, and there's no more. The nice thing, obviously, about online, you don't have to come into the office to make your reservation anymore, and you can click through it just online, and pretty simple process once you get signed up and get an account.
So, just like your swim passes, if I was a family who was unable to afford a swim pass but would sure like one, had you had any thought of maybe making an option available to some people who maybe just couldn't afford the $25 fee, and in the same sense provide an opportunity for them to have a shelter in the park?
We hadn't thought about that yet, but one of the things, and I think the reason why we do it, and I know the reason why we do it for swimming, is because it's really a life safety skill I think people really need to know. And I think everybody's got a soft spot in their heart for making sure every kid knows how to swim, or at least can navigate the water. And so I think that's important. The other thing I'd remind everybody, we talked a little bit about it at the informational, I think, was that you don't have to reserve a shelter. It's an option, but it's really set up for those that I want to guarantee a spot in the park, and so that you can walk up to McKinnon on a potentially a Monday evening and there's nobody in the shelter and you could use it. But in order to reserve that shelter, you have a family reunion, you got people coming from out of town. You want to make sure you got that shelter available to you. So, but we have not considered a reduced rate on that at all. We do work with the United Way on some of the other programs that we have, but not on the shelter reservations.
Jamie, would you mind reading the motion and the amendment, please?
Okay. Amend the main motion by approving the fee increases as proposed, except that the child's daily admission fee would remain at $1 for pool admission and $2 for aquatic center admission.
Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to chat on this? Mr. Stegman?
My name is Tim Stanga. I'm with you, Vernon. It used to be where pools were free to go to, and that's when I was brought up. That's the way it was in Sioux Falls, free to go swimming. We've used some shelters too, and yes, we came in early. We cleaned up after the person that was before us, and we had our get-together. We have people that are on staff through the Parks Department that work during the days. I don't know what they're doing then. If we're paying people to come in and clean, what are they doing, if they don't pay? I guess that's my question. Two, going after the senior citizens, I mean, they're strapped already. They're trying to pay for their medical bills. They're trying to pay their prescription costs. They're trying to pay for their taxes for their house. They're trying to pay for the bills that are being increased on them on a daily basis. And now we're going to go after the elderly. I guess I don't look at changing anything for the elderly. I just believe that we got people that are hired to do stuff in the park on a daily basis. And what is going to change from a Monday to a Saturday to a Sunday, because you still got them hired and you're still going to be doing that job.
Mr. Stinga, thank you. Any other comments from the audience? Any other comments from the City Council? Hearing none, we will vote on the motion as amended. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Point of order.
I'm sorry, on the amendment. The amendment on the motion. The amendment made by Councilor Litz and seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. has been discussed. All those in favor of the amendment, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmember Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
The amendment is passed 8-0. Any other further discussions or amendment? Councilor Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to move to amend by changing the shelter reservation fee to $10.
Is there a second?
Second, Rolfing.
There's been an amendment to change the shelter fee from $25 to $10 by Councilor Brown, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Any discussion? Councilor Jameson.
Don, could you help us determine the value of this change? Any way to quantify the possible number of reservations that could occur and the revenue impact, please? We're down 45 now.
Yeah, I'd be in the $20,000 range instead of 47.
Councilor Brown.
I make this motion just in a spirit of compromise because $25 to an organization like Hot Harley Nights or the ones that Councilor Erpenbach mentioned, they're going to pay that no matter what. But I think by setting it at $10, it still gives families an affordable opportunity to make those reservations.
Hearing no further discussion, we will vote on the amendment as proposed by Councilor Brown, seconded by Councilor Rolfing, to move the shelter fee from $25 to $10. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
No.
Jameson,
No.
Litz,
No.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
No.
Anderson,
No.
Brown.
Yes.
That has failed by a vote of 3 to 5. Any other discussion on the amended motion? Hearing none, all those, we will now vote on the amended motion. It's basically to approve all the fees as proposed by the City Parks Department and Department Head Don Carney, with the exception of the amendment that was recently passed. Please, all those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you, Mr. Carney. Number 18.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending the fee schedule set forth in Chapter 23, licenses.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
Move to approve, Aguilar.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you very much.
Jill Franken, Health Department. Item 18 is change to Chapter 23 health fees. These are for food selling and food processing establishment licenses, as well as some additional license fees. This process, as was described a couple of weeks ago at informational and last week at the first reading, was started back in 2008 when we developed a methodology to increase those fees so that they could cover the costs and the expense in the health budget of licensing, inspecting, and permitting those particular entities. We will continue these, if we are able to continue these fee adjustments until 2014, we will finally at that time have revenue and expenses matching. One of the things that I would like to mention that we do every year when these fees have been approved is we work with the establishments, we get a letter out to them letting them know about these increases. And also, since this is the third year that we are conducting the same increase in these fees, we have not received one comment or call, email from any establishments having any concerns with this recommended change. The revenue estimates to 2011 will be $172,000 in city fees revenue. Added to that will be an increase in revenue of $120,000 in the state fee reversions, for a total estimated revenue of $292,000. The estimated expense in 2011 will be just under $350,000. And with any additional recommended fee increases, we will match that closer in the coming years.
Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion by Councilor Aguilar, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Entenmann,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Litz, Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 19.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending the schedule of rates to be charged by the City Light and Power Department for furnishing electric current for light and power purposes is found in Chapter 41, Utilities.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So move Anderson.
Second, Entenmann.
It has been moved by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Mr. Cotter?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Mark Cotter with the Office of Public Works. We tonight have our full team here to go through each rate increase and answer your questions. We do have some summary slides specific to each one that we'll cover first. The first slide that we'll show for each respective utility, the first one is light and power, is the benchmark slide. One of the keys here is that as we look at residential rates, that's the first bar chart on the left-hand side. We are consistent with Sioux Valley Energy's rates, and we're more competitive with Excel's rates for residential. And then you can see how small commercial and large commercial stack up as well. The next slide is the financial slide, and there's really one key thing to look at in these slides is that on this particular chart, the red line, that's the target line, and that's for the operating reserves after we account for operations, maintenance, capital, and if a respective utility has debt. This does not have any debt in it for light and power. It's the one utility that does not. But essentially what we want to achieve is a very smooth approach and also account for all those costs, because these are cost of service rates. The revenues that the rates bring in account for the cost. They're not supported by any other funds throughout the city. And so it's been asked, what is a no action vote on the rate increase? And so we've done a strategy for each of the utilities tonight. Again, just looking at the red line, that's our target line for the operation reserves after we account for running the operations, and if there are capital investments or debt to retire, that's where we would want to achieve to be. This is where we started our targets 4 years ago, and this utility was, after this rate increase this year, in a very smooth approach going forward. But we did, in 2011, take the residential rate increase from 9.4 down to 0, and then just run out the numbers to show you by 2014 we essentially have no cash in this utility, and that is to say that that is on par if we continue to build the capital improvements that we've identified. Obviously, if the revenues are not there, we'll not be doing some of those necessary capital improvements. And so this is the last strategy that you'll see, is that we've pulled out some key and deferred some capital improvements just to try to keep the lines healthy above zero. And so you'll still see with either option, we really start to steadily decline the necessary cash reserves that it takes to run this utility. And you'll see a summary slide like this at the end of each, but just to remind the listening public is that 2 Mondays ago there was a 2-hour presentation. There was about 90 slides gone through for each of the respective utilities. Very detailed analysis. We have our full team here tonight with our expert rate consultants. The benchmarks that you show are very consistent and reasonable rates, and the light and power, we've segregated this off because different from water, sewer, and landfill, this division only serves about 1,633 residential customers, and so since it does not impact all the customers of Sioux Falls, we've segregated that out. The expected rate increase would be $4.41 per month for residential customers. I'll answer any questions.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mark, of these 1,633 residential customers, do they have a choice? Can they go to XL if they don't like this rate increase?
No, there's specific service territories for electric utilities, and the boundaries are clearly defined.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Brown.
As I remember the chart that you showed us, though, this city rate is still lower than any of the competitive providers, correct?
Well, the only ones that we benchmark here, Counselor, is against that first slide. You'll see several more when we look at landfill, water rec, or water. But I think, what we aim to do here is, obviously, the majority of the customers in this division are residential, and so we are benchmarking ourselves against Sioux Valley Energy and Xcel Energy. Yes.
How many more years of raising the rates like this are we looking at?
This is the financial slide, Counselor, and in 2012 and 2013 right now we're predicting that there'll be 0 rate increase. And the key there is that we've ran these funds so we can account for the capital improvements. But we also say that in regard if there is no cap and trade legislation, that we feel confident that we'll not be back here recommending a rate increase next year for this.
Thank you.
No further questions? No comments? We can vote on this item, please. We have a motion by Councilor Anderson, Jr., seconded by Councilor Entman on item number 19. Please vote yes if you're in favor. Please vote no if you're opposed.
Council members Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 20.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising Chapter 18 thereof to increase rates at the landfill in Sections 18-30A 2, 3, and 18-30B 2 and 3, and 18-30G with an effective date of January 1, 2011.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So move, Brown.
Entman, second.
It's been moved by Councilor Brown, seconded by Councilor Entman. Please, Ms. Scott.
Okay, and again, we've got our team with us, Matt Evans from R.W. Beck that did the detailed analysis, and Dave McElroy, the landfill superintendent, is also here to answer any questions. Okay, starting off the benchmark slide, we are only recommending a rate adjustment for MSW, which is municipal solid waste. That's your household garbage. And there's no recommended rate increase for C&D this year. But you can see that with the dollar recommendation of rate increase, we're still in the lower quartile of this benchmark for other communities in the state. And again, I'll just take you to this slide. This is the financial slide. We've got 3 of these for you to see. The key here is that the blue bar, vertical and horizontal, that's a fixed fund that we have to work through with the state. It's called a financial assurance. And it means that if we had to close the landfill tomorrow and actually close what's open and then manage it for a period of years in the future, there's money set aside to actually accomplish that. And then the second is the green, that is the unrestricted cash. And we've got a green bar that you'll see with the recommended rate increase. And again, this is a utility that we're finally to that point where we're at an inflationary rate increase, which is just over 3%. And in 2011, we're nearly there at our target. In 2012, we're there. But then you'll see that we've got some key capital projects that are planned to develop Cell 3, which is a large new cell. We start to regain some of that balance in 2014, and then in 2015 again, it pulls down. And so this one's not as smooth as the lights, but it is the fund that we're managing to still make sure we can run the operations. This one also does have debt, and so we have debt obligations that we certainly intend to make, maintenance, and then capital improvements to stay ahead of not only the expansion needs, but also the regulatory needs that come with running a permitted landfill. Okay, this is the no action slide, and again, this scale changes a little bit, but this is where we pull down the 3% in 2011 down to 0, and you start to see that In 2013, on the previous slide where it was already, we were losing ground, this gets us down to a cash balance of just over $600,000 in 2013 and just over $1 million in 2015. And we would be here to tell you that we don't believe that those are responsible levels to run at. And so then in last, there's a number of capital projects that, again, are very hard to defer when you're managing a landfill because you've got to stay ahead of the airspace needs. But we have pulled out several capital projects here just to manage that cash. And again, I think what we'll be doing if the no action alternative came is that you'd just be pushing the decision down the road for somebody else. So in summary, again, we're recommending a $1 increase for MSW, no increase for C&D, and then also changing the language for large electronics. We want to make sure that if people have large electronics, they take them to household hazardous waste for free. If you're a residential customer in the serving area, and if you're a commercial customer, there's 2 recycling areas in Sioux Falls that you can take your waste to. And then last, we've normally do this scenario, even though we do not, the City of Sioux Falls does not do the hauling of the waste from the household to the landfill. But essentially, if you have a $20 per month garbage bill and you assume that about 30% of that bill is actually the tipping fee, which equates to about $6 of that portion, if you uplift that by just over 3%, that would raise that monthly bill by about 19 cents. So in summary, landfill, we would ask for your support and that we would expect that we'd see an increase of about 19 cents per month.
Any questions, any comments from the City Council? Councilor Jameson.
Mark, how much, just an idea, how much weight does a normal household generate in a year? How many tons? Would it be likely that a home would struggle to meet a ton?
Oh, no, not struggle to meet a ton. I mean, one of the graphs that we showed on that scenario was that we've seen recycling really take off finally in Sioux Falls. And over the last probably 5 years, it's gone from about 4.25 pounds per person per day down to about 3.25, if I'm remembering those numbers just off the top. That then equates if you've got one person, 5 or 10. And so I would just tell you that, use about 4 pounds of waste per day per person, and that would give you a sense of how much waste is actually generated. And again, that's another thing just similar to water conservation that you can control. There's some very good recycling programs in Sioux Falls, and the more you divert, smaller your container, the lower your cost.
It just seems like a natural trend sooner or later that they're going to be weighing your garbage and you'll be paying by how much weight you are putting in. If that's what they're being charged by, you would think that would be the return. But
we just read an article. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to sum up. The real concern I'm having is that the 19 cents that you're probably recommending or proposing or likely scenario, it just seems like a free-for-all for the haulers to add an increase because they've been increased. Comes back to us. They're certainly not going to make it a 19-cent increase, but I guess I'm just trying to say it out loud that if your hauler is going to move your rates up beyond 19 cents or something, find a new hauler. Would that be?
That is one thing in Sioux Falls. We have nearly 40 haulers, and so you certainly can check rates. But I would say just go ahead, Mayor.
Councilor Brown.
Mark, the question I got a couple times, and I think I know the answer, but I think it's important we spell it out here. A lot of people say, I'm recycling more, less is going into the landfill, so why are you raising the rates?
Well, there's a lot of key reasons. And again, these are not rate analysis that are just snapshots in time. When you drive throughout the landfill and then take a ride with, say, Dave McElroy, and he can show you that the 2 compactors that are working the face, trying to get the density, are each $1 million apiece. And so that's just one snapshot of that. We've got so many high fixed costs in running the landfill. We also want to make sure that we're in a cash position for 2013, so when we have that large $5.1 million development of cell 3, that we have funds on hand to actually do that. So again, it's not a snapshot in time that we need the revenue for 2011. The goal was when we started this 4 years ago that we would get to a point where we could reach the recommended rates in a reasonable period of time, and then that's what we would hope to gain your support going forward.
Are there any questions or comments from the audience? Mr. Stinga?
I was here for the electrical too, but I lost out on that one. I'm one of them customers that you're increasing my rates, and again, I oppose it, but that doesn't mean anything. I guess my question for the landfill, the methanol, the gas that we are shipping off to, I'm trying to think, Chancellor?
Poet. Yes.
Poet, correct. What are they paying for it? Is even the citizens of Sioux Falls or whatever, are we getting anything out of this? And another thing is, between the trees, are we grinding them up? Are we throwing them back in the landfill? Are we selling them to Poet? And what are we making out of that? That we never had that before. And another thing, and I'm looking at it, I mean, are we looking for a rate increase every year? Or are we just looking for one now? We got less trash going in. I just don't understand, you know, we're doing more with the landfill than we have ever done in Sioux Falls, and where are the citizens reaping anything out of this?
Mr. Stinga, thank you. Ms. Cotter, or question number one is the relationship with Poet. What are we getting out of that as citizens, please?
Well, first of all, we did make an investment of about $4.3 million, and we are only in about month 15 of that process. And so that's going to take a number of years. What we expect will take about 3.5 years to actually pay back to the landfill as we continue to develop. But then long term, that's going to be a key revenue source to stave off future rates.
The second question involved trees. How are we disposing them? Where is that waste going?
There is markets for that, and I'll let Dave McElroy speak to that.
Sure, the trees are being ground, and the city has a contract. Last year was the first year where we didn't have to actually pay somebody to come in and grind up our trees. This year is the first year of a new contract where we are actually going to make $2 per ton. We're actually in the process of doing a cost of service analysis on the individual waste types, and that's something that we're going to evaluate. Maybe we can lower our wood waste fees, and so that's something we're continually evaluating. Every year we evaluate these kind of things.
Thank you. And the third question involved, I think it was answered, but let's answer it again, Mark. When will these rates, in your mind, be capped, or when will we stop raising them?
Well, right now, Mayor, we've got an expected, as we ran the analysis out, is $1 per ton per year. And again, that is just with the amount of fixed costs and what we've seen equipment raise over time, what we expect construction will start to raise, because we've got very high intensive capital costs through construction and also equipment. And so right now we expect to have inflationary increases of about $1 per ton per year. And again, I think what we would like to share with the citizens is that we've got some of the lowest rates in the state.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Lutz.
Second part of that question about the trees there's a company in town that if you've got a large amount of trees to get rid of on a development, you call him up and he will bring his tub grinder out there, grind it up and haul it off. And I would anticipate that if it hasn't already happened, the amount of debris that trees that filling out the landfill is diminished greatly.
Yes, we are seeing our wood waste decrease, and there are other options. You don't have to bring it to the landfill.
Councilor Lutz, do you know the name of that company?
I do. It's a Mueller Pallet Company.
Mueller Pallet Company.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Stinga, any follow-ups, or were your questions answered? Well, please.
I guess my other question is it just the citizens of Sioux Falls that put in on the pipeline to the ethanol plant, or was it joint?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cotter?
Well, it's a regional landfill, so it's not only the city of Sioux Falls. City of Sioux Falls owns and operates the landfill, but it serves 5 counties, and it was the city of Sioux Falls that actually upfronted the wells and also the pipeline, the 11-mile pipeline, but we also considered that in the negotiated price of what we're now delivering to Poet, which gains a revenue in rough terms of about $100,000 a month.
Any other questions on item number 20? Comments? Hearing none, we did have a motion by Councilor Brown, seconded by Councilor Entman on item 20. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Intamin,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. And folks, if I could, just very, very briefly, I need you to know that the City Council has met on these items at least 3-4 times in great detail. They have done their homework, as Mr. Cotter had mentioned, as Mr. Carney had mentioned, and as others will mention. They have scrutinized these. They have challenged them, representing not only the council but the good people of Sioux Falls, just like Mr. Stenga, and they will continue to do that. So when you see a discussion going on here tonight that only lasts 10 minutes, please be aware there's already been 3 to 4 hours put on these by these good men and women of the council. Item 21.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city, revising sewer utility rates and charges as found in Chapter 41, Utilities.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Let's.
Second, Anderson.
It has been motioned by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. on item 21. Yes, Ms. Cotter.
Okay, Mayor and City Council, again, just to remind you that we did go through this long, detailed presentation, Steve Burrian with AE2S and Trent Lubers, the wastewater superintendent, 2 Mondays ago. Okay, again, starting off with the benchmark slide, this again is, we are finally reached that point with water reclamation that focuses on the collection of wastewater and the responsible discharge back into the Big Sioux River. There's one thing I want you to see as you look at this benchmark slide, and it's not just where we're at on the graph, but look at the black as opposed to the green. And one of the keys with this is that the City of Sioux Falls has always been very conservation focused, and so we charge a very small fixed fee, and then you get charged based on your usage. And so this is, again, this is benchmarked off 5,310 gallons per month. There are certainly many customers that use much less than that. There are customers that use more, but this is our average customer that uses 5,310 gallons per month. I think one of the things you look at is that there are some communities on there that charge a fixed flat rate based on and without a concern for how much you actually use. But that's not been the City of Sioux Falls' philosophy. And so I think one of the things that Sioux Falls has always been very good at is being conservation focused. I wanted to point that fixed charge out for you. Okay, this again is, this graph is very smooth on the operational reserve. One of the key things we want you to look at here is the black targeted horizontal line. That's the bottom one. And Trent and their operations run this program very good. We've met our optimum reserve, which is 90 days. It's only 90 days. It's not 180 or a full year's worth of O&M, but we certainly need to have some level of reserve to operate the fund, whether it's the timing of capital improvements, making a significant chemical purchase. You need to have a key reserve to make sure that you can float through those. But then also just if there happen to be a catastrophic issue happening in Sioux Falls, we believe we've got to have some revenue on hand to actually manage that. And then we start to, again, this gets to more inflationary in the near term, but we've got some, as you drive on North Phillips Avenue and you start to see some of those large pipes that are going in, that's the backbone sewer of the City of Sioux Falls. It's replacing an old 48-inch pipe with a 60-inch pipe. Very corrosive area, and we're going all the way from North Phillips Avenue down to Tudhill. There's 3 key projects under construction this year, so those are some of the areas where the rates revenue goes into. But we again did the no action scenarios on this utility, and so if you look at 2011, you see on this graph it's a 3% recommended rate increase. And again, since we fall below the line, we changed the scale a little bit on this, but again, 11 goes to 0, but we still have the full CIP loaded in here, and you see by 2016, this utility is out of cash, can't survive, and so then we run one more scenario that pulls as much capital improvements, and again, in the wastewater industry, it's very capital intensive, very corrosive environment, and the red line, I know this gets a little busy, but the red line on the right-hand side of the graph, those numbers, the $250,000 in 2016, the $3.4 million in 2017, those are the minimum capital improvements that we'd have to defer till a later date just to keep this utility solvent with no reserve fund to function. And so, again, just to comment on what the no-action alternative is, it's very devastating on where these utilities are currently at. Again, in summary, water reclamation, we went through the detailed presentation, and again, this would equate to about a 57-cent increase per month if you have an average usage of 5,310 gallons per month. I'll take questions.
Any questions, any comments from the City Council? Any questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none. There has been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. on item 21. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Intamin,
Yes.
Erfenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 22.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by increasing water rates as found in Chapter 41 Utilities.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Let's.
Second, Jamison.
It has been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Jamison on item 22. Any questions or I'm sorry, Ms. Crowder?
Okay, Mayor, again, just to give you a brief, that Steve Burrian, again with AE2S, went through this detailed analysis and was supported by Greg Anderson, the water superintendent. Starting with the benchmark slide, we've got obviously a number of them clustered that are in very close cost, but the recommended increase that's been shown in previous examples that for the water fund would raise the average bill $2.86. We do see this is assuming that no one else raises their rates this year as well. But I think one of the key things with the City of Sioux Falls is that we normally get in front of this early in the year. These rates that are being recommended tonight don't go into effect until January 1, 2011. And so likely some of these may also consider a rate increase. But again, this is the same graph where I think the City of Sioux Falls can really show that its conservation focus has very small fixed charge, and then you get billed on the usage, and you're highly encouraged to conserve. This is a benchmark slide that was on the front of the cardstock that's been provided to the public as well as the City Council, and this is the combined water and sewer bill benchmarked against other communities in the state. This is the graph, and you'll see that in 2011, we are recommending a 14% rate increase. This is the same recommendation prediction that we had last year, and we do have 2 more years in front of us till we get this utility to more of those inflationary numbers. But I will tell you, after 2013, we start to hit that desired revenue reserve target, and then have a fairly smooth approach in the out years. And we talked about those other respective reserve funds. The blue is for Lewis and Clark, and then the red is for capital contingency. The no action alternative here is we'll also have you look at the black line. The key with a rate increase for water, taking that 14% in 11 down to 0 has a dramatic effect in the near term. Essentially, if a no action tonight would take this fund negative in 2012 and drastically require changes in the capital plan. One of the key things that we have to do is run the operations, perform the maintenance, and make the debt payment obligations. The only thing that is subject, and it's questionable subject because you got to stay ahead of infrastructure in the utilities, is that we'd pull back significantly on planned capital improvements, which equates to right now, if you drive up near the water plant, we're expanding the water plant with 5 new filters. It's water towers. It's key infrastructure that serves the city of Sioux Falls. I know this is a really tough graph to see, but the red line is the capital improvements that would have to be deferred. And in 2012, we would already have to immediately pull $4 million of capital improvements that are planned out of the plan, and then in the out years it just goes up just to keep this utility above zero in the fund. And so again, we would certainly enjoy your support with the water fund recommended rate increase. A couple other key items that are in the ordinance, and again, since on water and wastewater in particular, over 90% of the customers are residential, we focused on them for tonight. But in the previous presentations, we've covered all the customer classes that are having rate increases. We are asking for a trip charge. We're asking for security deposits to actually be increased to what we believe are a responsible level. These are only for non-owner occupied dwellings for water and light increases, and then clarifying the late fee calculation. And so with that. The summary for water is a $2.86 per month increase based on usage of 5,310 gallons per month. I'll take questions, Mayor.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Cotter? Councilor Jameson.
Could you go back to that slide on number 18? I think it was page 18. Yeah. Mark.
Sorry.
That's a Cotter graph. I don't know. I think there's some hidden message in there that says, yes, raise rates or something.
When Greg Anderson asked for the graph, this is what it's supposed to look like, and that's where we'd like to get your recommendation to keep the fund solvent and solid. So,
all right. Well, thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Mark, could you go back to the security deposits again? I think you're 2 pages up there. Why such a dramatic increase on the security deposits? $50 for people that are trying to get into rentals could be a deal breaker.
Well, one of the things we've seen over time is just the amount of write-offs that we've had to do in the fund, and it is progressively getting higher and higher annually. And so one of the things we wanted to try to do is, in the typical bill cycle, you can actually get late fees before you're turned off of about 2.5 months. And so that's what we've done here, is we're recommending to recoup that on non-owner occupied. Again, this is money in the bank for them, and if they call for change of service or for stop of service, we'll look and see what their current balance is. We can credit their deposit, and then we'll send them a check for the balance. So, and just with electricity, those are what we're starting to see is from a delinquent standpoint. So,
thank you.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none, there was a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Jameson on item 22. If you're in favor of this motion, please vote yes. Those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmember Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach? Yes. Jameson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 20. Yes, Councilor Intiman.
I'd just like to thank Mark and his staff for preparing all that work, and that's very interesting for a person that's new in the City Council to see the strength of what we have here in our public utilities and stuff, and the challenges that you do have. And I'd like to thank you for the presentation and the work you did in this. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And if folks are wondering back home, one of the reasons why Mr. Cotter put together the documents in terms of what would happen if there wouldn't be an increase, is that Chairman Jameson had urged not only Mr. Cotter, but also Mr. Carney and others, in the terms of trying to protect the citizens. He wanted to find out what would happen if they weren't passed tonight. So again, I think Councilor Jameson and the rest of the City Council, they are looking out for your well-being. And I think, as you found from Mr. Carney and Mr. Cotter, they're trying to look out for your well-being as well as prepare for the future and make sure that this city is sound and on good financial footing in years to come. Thank you all. Item 23.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 4324 South Minnesota Avenue from the RS1 Residential District to the O Office District, petition number 2010-0501, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Can I get a motion to approve, please?
I move.
So moved, Litz.
Second, Aguilar.
Okay, we are setting the hearing date, and that's what Councilor Aguilar and Councilor Litz approved and seconded. Yes, Mr. Cooper.
Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. This is a petition by Jeffrey Brolin with Advanced Eye Care requesting rezoning of property to expand the existing medical office on South Minnesota Avenue. The expansion would be about 3/10 of an acre to the south of the existing office building. They're proposing to expand the size of their building as well as adding additional parking to the south for staff use only. And this rezoning would be changing the small parcel from residential to office use. We did have public testimony at the Planning Commission meeting, so we do know that the neighborhood is aware of this, and we believe that any issues of concern have been addressed by the neighborhood.
Any questions or comments from the City Council? Any questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none, there was a motion by Councilor Aguilar, seconded by Councilor Litz, to set the hearing date for the second reading. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That's passed 8-0. Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Item 24.
A resolution including certain contiguous territory within the corporate limits of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, annexation 2010-0301, Westport Avenue and 54th Street North, Minnehaha County.
This, I believe, will be the
Can I
first.
have a motion to adopt the resolution, please?
So moved, Animan.
Second, Litz.
It has been moved by Councilor Entenmann, seconded by Councilor Litz to adopt this resolution. Mr. Cooper?
Thank you. This will be, I believe, the first petition on annexation for the new members of the council and Mayor Huther. There are two ways that we can petition for property to be annexed. One is by the property owner, which is the typical way of doing it. There is a process, in addition, whereby the city can initiate annexation action. In this case, we do have a petition by the property owner, which is Minnehaha County, on behalf of Siouxland Heritage Museums. The property consists of approximately 25 acres of land on Northwestport Avenue and 54th Street North. And the county is looking at utilizing a portion of this in the future for a collections and record storage facility. Bill Hoskins is here tonight with the Siouxland Heritage Museums if you have any specific questions on their request. Whenever we get a petition for annexation, it's reviewed by a number of different city staff to make sure that we have the ability in the future to provide utilities, street services to the property. And in this case, the staff is recommending that we can approve this petition for annexation.
Any questions or comments? Yes, Councilor Jameson?
Mike, when you do things like this in the vicinity of the airport, do you talk to the airport authority or anybody at the airport to kind of bring them into the loop?
We do have a process with the airport authority that they have to review all building permit applications within a certain area. So yes, we do have a procedure to review all projects with the airport authority.
Councilor Rothling.
Yes, Mike, if they're going to store things down there for the museum, this is in the floodplain, isn't it? No. Or isn't it?
No, this is up on the high spot.
It is on the high spot there?
Yes. No, it is not in the floodplain.
I sure hope it's high enough.
It's very high.
Yeah. Councilor Entman.
Yes, Mike, that's the area they've been pulling the dirt off of and putting down into the where the fields are going to be, correct?
Yeah, this is adjacent to the new junior football fields.
I'll tell you what, if we flood up there, you better make sure you have a big ark.
Councilor Litz.
Mr. Mayor, thanks. Just a little background, Ralph, Rex, I don't know if you know it, but Mr. Bob Hall and Kerry donated this land, and it is their hope and my hope that this future council, sometime when we find the money, will be a player in the building that needs to be built out there. We've got a very fine collection that is in somewhat of peril, I would have to say, looking at the condition of the old courthouse museum down there, and this would be climate controlled, and our collection's worth a lot of money. It's our heritage, and we do need to preserve it. So, I probably won't be here, because it's going to be down the road. But I know some of you on this council will be here, and I hope that you can find the wherewithal to do it. So.
Mr. Cooper, thank you. There has been a motion by Councilor Enneman, seconded by Councilor Litz on item 24, which will pass a resolution to annex some new territory. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Intamin.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Aguilar.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Item 25.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of the city attorney.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Let's.
Second, Etterman?
It has been, the motion's been made by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Enteman on item 25 to appoint a new city attorney. Councilor Jameson, I am going to defer to you in terms of how you and the good city council would like to proceed with this. Would you like the city attorney to come up to the podium? What would you prefer?
Yes, I think that would be the best thing to do.
Welcome. Sir, would you please state your name?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Dave Fifley. I'm a nominee for the office of city attorney. I am currently unemployed, and my wife would really like me to become employed again.
Very impressive.
I'm in transition, I'll admit.
At this time, there has been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Enteman. Any questions or comments for Mr. Dave Fifley?
I'll start. Dave, thank you for taking your time out last week and meeting with me. And I believe you've also met with most of the other council members. I'm very excited about your future here with the city. And I think that you've got a lot of work to do, but I think that you're the right choice.
Well, thank you, Councilor Anderson. I appreciate your vote of support. Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Mr. Fifley, thank you also for taking the time to meet with a number of us. Just for the public's benefit, I'd like to talk about, the public has seen us sometimes have conflict with the city attorney's office because of the role it plays between the mayor and the city council. How might you work to solve that?
Councilor Brown, I hope to bridge those gaps. I realize a lot of it is a creature of the charter and the language of the charter itself, where it creates, in the city attorney being the chief legal officer for the city council, for the mayor, and also the city department heads. And like any creature of government, perhaps there's some institutionalized self-interest by political science majors having me state that. Perhaps there's been some disagreements, et cetera. I can assure you, Councilor Brown, that I have been mentored by retired Justice Richard Sabers, who had a great fidelity to the law, and whatever opinion comes out of our office, if I'm allowed to be the city attorney, will not be influenced by politics. We realize that there will be some difficult decisions for the city council and for the mayor, and we hope that you will consider the collective advice of over 150 years' worth of experience that are going to be in that city attorney office. And I will do my best to bridge whatever communication gaps may have occurred in the past. I don't think any of us are responsible for some of those problems that may have occurred in the past. I want to bridge those gaps. I'm a good communicator, I hope, and I want to take whatever input from any city council member. If they feel our office is handling something poorly, I would love to know about it immediately, and I'll take the steps to rectify it. That's what the mayor has charged me to do, and that's what I intend on doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
Hi, welcome to the fire.
Thank you.
Just maybe in your words, tell us about who you represent. If you were in this position, if you were selected this evening, who you represent and who you serve.
I would serve, according to the charter, Councilor Jameson, both the city council, the mayor, and the city department heads. As far as legislative matters, all of you up here would be the client. As far as executive and administrative matters, the charter specifically states that those matters are solely within the province of the mayor. And if it was an executive or an administrative matter, then the mayor would be the client. But ultimately, our rules of ethics state that the organization, the city, is ultimately the client, and we do whatever is in the best interest of the client according to our rules of professional responsibility.
Councilor Jameson.
This is just starting to get going here, but let's just say, we kind of did this the other day, and I first off appreciate your time, and I'm energized by some of the things I've heard and seen, but just imagine, if you will, that our new mayor does something that the council feels is probably out of order, and the council decides to maybe have you look into whether or not that's legal or not, and we ask you that conversation and that request remain confidential between us. Would you honor that, and are you able to honor that?
If it were on a legislative or an executive or administrative matter, I don't know if I could do that as we sit here today. If there was a compelling interest, being the overriding concern of the city itself, I would carefully weigh that request, Councilor Jameson. And at any rate, I have always, when dealing with organizational clients, if those types of requests are made or expectations are made, I try and delineate at that meeting whether that request will be honored or not, or get back to those particular individuals as quickly as possible before I would divulge that information to any other one of the representatives of the client.
Councilor Jameson.
So the yes and no answer is?
Unfortunately, in the legal world, there isn't always a simple yes or no, Councilor Jameson.
Right,
I apologize.
I understand. And I'm not pressing you out of it just because this is unusual. It doesn't happen very often, but it's just that I'm a little concerned about the whole deal, that we don't have somebody under our thumb as the mayor does. The mayor can fire you at a moment's notice. You're not doing something we don't like, we can just whine about it. And I guess I'm just a little concerned about the loyalty that any city attorney would have to the council, having, the duty to serve both. It's just to pretend, really, that you cannot serve both equally. Am I wrong?
I think, obviously I haven't sat in the chair yet in that office, Councilor Jameson, but I think on a vast majority of instances, the city's interests are going to be aligned with both the city council and the mayor. The rules of ethics that I operate under, and I have been for almost 2 decades, require me to serve you both with the best of my abilities. In actual terms, it's to zealously represent the client, and ultimately the client is the city.
Okay, one other thing. We met the other day with Councilor Aguilar and Councilor Brown, and I asked somebody asked how you would manage and or evaluate your staff when you were appointed, would be appointed. Could you share with us again that process?
If I am fortunate enough to be selected, Councilor Jameson, I am going to evaluate internally the entire staff, attorneys and other staff, and I am going to ask for their input first in terms of what their interests, what their aptitudes, what their abilities are, and what suggestions in terms of assigning responsibilities, and also determining from them what they believe changes may need to be made. I also, from having practiced law for almost 2 decades in this state, and most of it in Sioux Falls, I've made a lot of connections throughout the legal community. I'm going to seek external advice and comments. I've also, from all of you city councilors, I would welcome any comments you may have. I am one who is open to constructive criticism, and I would welcome the opportunity to refashion things however we want and feel that we need to do. But first and foremost, I think I want to take the input from everyone in the current city attorney's office to see what suggestions they may have internally.
Dave, one last one, I promise.
That's fine.
Just a little pop quiz. Is there an ordinance on the books in Sioux Falls that would prohibit an individual from parking in front of a mailbox? What? I'm asking. This is a test.
I believe there is, Councilor Jameson. I believe there is. Honestly, I have been studying the city ordinances via laptop for the last week. I have not committed all of them to memory, but I have a sneaking suspicion there is one.
Maybe as your first homework assignment, you could check that one.
I'd be happy to write you a memo on that. Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Councilor Urbanbach.
Mr. Feifley, thanks so much for your time and for your commitment to this opportunity. I apologize, our schedules didn't mesh, and so I just kind of let that meeting go, but I figured that I got nice memos from my colleagues. The thing that I'd like you to do is just talk briefly about how your resume compares to this job. Tell us, I don't know if it's a calling, if it's a, because you have, your private practice is really different than where you might be headed tonight. And so can you kind of compare and contrast for us?
I would be happy to. And for your information, I am a resident of your district, Councilor
Awesome.
Urbanbach.
That's out of order.
I don't know if there's an ordinance on that,
Pandering to the
Mayor.
city council out of order.
I was fortunate enough, obviously there's always been an interest in government with a political science degree as well as a double major with English. I was fortunate enough to have several different internships at basically every level of government as I was going through college. I went into law out of public service. I first had the opportunity to clerk for Justice Sabers of our Supreme Court for a year, and then I practiced in Pierre for 3 years with a law firm, the Ryder Law Firm, and they had the city attorney contract for the city of Pierre, and I actually cut my teeth, so to speak, representing the city of Pierre. I did all the city court for that entity for 3 years. I attended city commission meetings, so if you'll forgive me if I ever call you commissioner instead of counselor, that gets ingrained in the mind. And Sioux Falls kept calling me. I grew up here, raised here, born, raised here, and it kept calling. I moved back, and the law firm that I've been at for the last 12 years is May Johnson, and in that capacity I've represented a number of municipalities and other local governments, and Councilor Urbanbach, they've always been some of my most favorite clients. I've been had a real good, rewarding experience representing those folks, and unfortunately it's usually when the fire has already happened and I have to help them put out a fire in litigation. I've also represented some educational institutions on employment law matters and some other very large businesses. Surprisingly, I've actually represented employers who actually have more than the 1,100 employees that the city of Sioux Falls does. But for an employment lawyer who's also enjoyed representing governmental entities for his entire career, this is a dream come true, and I very respectfully request your advice and consent, and I'd be very happy to serve.
Councilor Brown.
Mr. Fifley, how do you envision working with the council in terms of drafting legislation in that relationship between the city attorney's office and the city clerk's office?
Well, I know, Councilor Brown, that there is a specific assistant city attorney that is assigned to assist with that type of drafting. I believe it is Karen Leonard. And I will certainly rely on Karen to inform me how that process has been working. And if there is some suggestions for improvement or some different things that we can do, I'd be welcome to those comments from any of the city councilors or the mayor or anyone else, and also from Karen.
Mr. Pfeiffer, if you'd stay there, please, while this council votes, I would appreciate that. No other questions or comments. If you approve of Mr. David Pfeiffer becoming the next city attorney for this wonderful city of Sioux Falls, please vote yes. If you're opposed, please vote no.
Council members Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Mr. Pfeiffer, first of all, would you mind introducing, there are a couple of people in the audience that were kind enough to stay here representing you as a family. Would you just have them stand, please?
I would be happy to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My wife, Linda, is here. We've been married for almost 12 years. She's my best friend and my boss, and I'm happy she's here tonight. And my mother is also here tonight. For your information, Betty Pfeiffer. She moved here with her parents back in 1947 and grew up on the air base and also went to Washington High School. And she's a great resource, having been here for 63 years. She, in fact, was the first grade teacher of Mayor Gary Hansen. So we've had a long connection to Sioux Falls, and happy to be here. And I'm glad she's here as well.
Well, to the people of Sioux Falls, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Dave Pfeiffer. He is the new city attorney for Sioux Falls, along with their family. Welcome to the team.
Thank you very much.
Item number 26.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of the Public Health Director.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So move Anderson.
Second Aguilar.
There has been a motion by Councilor Anderson, Jr., seconded by Councilor Aguilar, to approve Ms. Jill Franken as the city's next Public Health Director. If Jill Franken, if you could please come to the podium, please. Mrs. Franken, thank you. Welcome. Any questions or comments for Mrs. Franken? Councilor Jameson? Or Councilor Anderson, Jr. I apologize. Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Sure. Jill, could you just give us your background with the health department?
Absolutely. I am currently employed at this time with the health department. I have actually around 26 years of experience in the healthcare field. The last 10 have been very fortunately with the health department. First as hired as public health manager for 6 years, and the last 4 years as the assistant health director.
Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Jill, where do you anticipate the growth in the health department in the next few years?
That's a really good question, Councilor. I would anticipate that the needs of this community are going to continue to be in the direction of looking at serving the uninsured and the underserved in this community. At the same time, we have much opportunity in that area. When you look at health reform and what has happened in this past year, there are some very favorable opportunities for community health centers in these next few years that I think this community would be well served to take advantage of.
See no further questions or comments. Ms. Franken, if you wouldn't mind staying there, I'd appreciate it. There has been a motion by Councilor Anderson, Jr., seconded by Councilor Aguilar, to approve Jill Franken as the newest Public Health Director for the City of Sioux Falls. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmembers Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison,
Yes.
Litz,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Mrs. Franken, again, Jill, welcome. It's great to have you. Do you have anybody in the audience that you'd like to introduce as well?
Yes, actually I do, and I would like to mention that I'm not sure what kind of coincidence this is, but I'm also I was born and raised in Sioux Falls, and Dave and I apparently went to Mark Twain together. Our mothers have told us that, so go Mark Twain. Yes, I do. I'd like to introduce my husband, Jerry, who's in the audience. We've been married for 26 years, and 26 really good years. And then my mother, Carol Prouty, is also in the audience, and they both have been a tremendous support to me as I have served the City of Sioux Falls.
Well, the City of Sioux Falls, it is with my esteemed pleasure, I would like to introduce you to the newest Public Health Director for your great city, Jill Franken. Item 27.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of the police chief.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So move, Litz.
Second, Entenmann.
There's been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Entenmann, to approve the appointment of Mr. Chief Don Barthel as our police chief for the City of Sioux Falls. Any questions or comments? Did I say Don? Doug? Oh, my gosh. It's late. Mr. Doug Barthel. Any questions for Chief Barthel? Yes, Councilor Jameson.
Just a comment, if I could. Chief, I've just been here a couple of years, and I think you're doing a wonderful job for the City of Sioux Falls, and I sure hope you get approved tonight. I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't, but I just would like to say thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Anyone done a background check on this guy?
Clearly.
I have one question, one comment. Doug, you have done a phenomenal job. We're very proud of you for what you've done for the city. But I want to ask you about probably the toughest issue we face as a city council is gauging the staffing levels. How, going forward, do you intend to continue to do that?
Well, actually, we were very fortunate last year. We were approved the 9 positions through the COPS grant, and we had gone into that trying to add to our staffing as the city continues to grow. As we know, as you add citizens, unfortunately, you occasionally get some undesirables in those groups as well, and so goes our call volume. But I've been very comfortable with where we're at staffing-wise with those 9 new positions. That actually was going to satisfy our needs through 2010 and 2011. And in addition to that, there was funding that helped pay for all of the equipment and all the resources to go along with those officers. So my hope is by getting us through at least the next 2 years with that, we'll get through these economic downtimes and we can fortunately or hopefully get all of our city staffing levels back to where they need to be. And I realize that we're part of the team. We certainly aren't just an entity in and of ourselves. There's 11 other departments that we need to also maintain, several of which help support our department. So never want to do this on the backs of all the other departments. But where we're at right now, I'm certainly very comfortable with that, and I think our numbers, both crime-wise and response times, show that.
Councilor Erbenbach.
Challenges, Doug. What do you see? I mean, staffing sounds like it's okay, and if we keep the funding where it's at, what challenges do you see coming over the next couple of years?
Well, certainly there's always challenge, and that's the nature of police work. Unfortunately, I don't see us getting to the point where we're going to be laying off people due to lack of work. But I think it's important that we maintain our proactive response and our community presence. And we're actually looking at some new ways that we can do that, how we assign our officers. We have already implemented some of that in the past year or two in how we assign them by hour of the day. We're also now looking at how we assign them by area of the city. And We've actually have traveled to some other cities and looked at some of the ways that they're doing it. And there's some great innovative ideas out there. And actually, I'm pretty excited about the direction that we're headed with that. And it's difficult to put a number on the crimes that we prevent by doing that proactive work. Oftentimes, I think it's easy to look and see, well, gee, your crimes are going down or your calls are going down. Maybe you don't need to add officers. Well, frankly, maybe that's why they are going down, because we have done some of the work that we have. And in addition to that work in the community, I think it's also important that we continue to maintain our presence in the schools. I think that's been probably one of our flagship programs, by having the officers in the schools. There again, that's another prime example where you can't actually put numbers on some of the work that they do, but I can assure you that they definitely have a positive impact and a positive influence on why we keep this such a safe city and a great place to live.
Hearing no more questions or comments for Chief Doug Barthel, there was a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Entenmann, to give consent to the appointment of Chief Doug Barthel as the police chief for the city of Sioux Falls. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Chief Barthel, I don't know, is Patty in the office, in the audience today?
No, fortunately, my two children are working tonight, and my wife is at home. So,
Well, one thing that people of Sioux Falls should realize, whether it's Chief Doug Barthel or any of the other department heads that are going to come up, this is not an 8-to-5 job, not at all. And their family members are impacted on a daily basis, on a nightly basis, by the sacrifice that these public servants are doing. So if they're not here tonight, please recognize they are at home, and they are also working side by side with these men and women of city government. Congratulations to Mr. Chief Doug Barthel, who will be the police chief for the city of Sioux Falls.
thank you.
Item 28.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of the Director of Planning and Building Services.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Entenmann?
Second, Jamison.
There's been a motion by Councilor Entenmann, seconded by Councilor Jamison, to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Planning and Building Services. His name is Mr. Michael Cooper. Mr. Cooper, thank you. Any questions from Mr. Mike Cooper? Mr. Jameson, Councilor Jameson, I apologize.
Oh, that's all right. I started this with the other directors, so I'll continue it on. Mike, I've only been here 2 years, and I've learned a lot from you and enjoyed all your work. I appreciate your service to the city. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment.
Seeing no more questions or comments of Mr. Mike Cooper, there has been a motion by Councilor Entenmann, seconded by Councilor Jamison, to approve or give consent of the appointment of Mr. Mike Cooper as the Director of Planning and Building Services for the city of Sioux Falls. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
To the people of Sioux Falls, I'd like to introduce you to the Director of Planning and Building Services. His name is Mr. Mike Cooper.
Thank you.
Item 29.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of the Director of Public Works.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Let's.
Second, Aguilar.
There's been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Aguilar, to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Public Works, Mr. Mark Cotter. Mark, thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Mark Cotter?
This crowd seems to be getting rougher and rougher as we go along here.
Councilor Litz, please pound on Mr. Cotter. No comments? Any? Yes, Councilor Jameson.
Mark, those graphs, they're killing me.
Once a year.
Once a year is allowable. Again, Mark, I've gotten to know you a little bit over the years, last couple of years. I think, I don't know of any other department head that's probably as thorough and responsive than you. We still have a couple more to go here. Don might be one, but Bill, well, we'll see. But Don, Mark, you do a great job. The city of Sioux Falls is served well by your service.
Councilor Brown.
Mark, I would echo that. I think that we can all learn from your abilities to be responsive to people, not only in city government, but outside of city government. You have set the bar very high, and I appreciate your ability to respond to people in an appropriate way, and whether it's this group or outside of city government, I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Councilor Urtenbach.
I would echo those things as well. But Mark, would you talk just a little bit? There's a little bit of controversy in the news lately about how those line items are being handled with potholes and new streets and those kinds of things. Can you talk about your perspective on that a little bit, your relationship with the council and how you see that conversation going?
Specifically as it relates to the 2011 budget, or?
That, yes, and this specific item in particular, those line items that are being moved around in streets. Talk about your relationship with the council versus the mayor. How do those things work, and how do you handle that from your position?
Certainly. Well, I think any time that the CIP gets authorized, there is, we're always, whether it's a utility or a road, we're always looking whether it's, if it's an expansion that's needed, and that can be in the middle part of town, or it could be on the outside of town. It could certainly be a maintenance and rehabilitation, or it could be some type of a regulatory issue that comes in front of one of the utilities that Public Works manages. And I guess I would say that it becomes a balance on and really seeing where the needs are. I think one of the challenges that we'll always be faced with is just the climate that we're in, and some of the seasonal challenges. We could be certainly gearing up, for example, to prepare for a very bad winter again, another 60-inch snow, and we might have 20. And so it's always a balance of resources and where they need to go. Same in regards to the maintenance. Right now, the roads are in dire need of repair. And so I certainly can do more on the communication as we start to recommend moving things from an expansion-based program to more of a maintenance-driven program going forward.
Mark, you manage the largest working group of city employees. Is that still a manageable group? If memory serves me, it's about 600 of the 1,100 employees. Is that number correct?
It's we have about 360 employees, including part-time.
Okay.
And just to respond, I think part of it comes in the strength of the team. We normally, just like the items tonight, we line up the key people. We've got some really strong division managers that manage those teams, and so it is very manageable. We've got a solid team in Public Works Administration, but in every division of Public Works, the employees' ideas are heard and they're executed, and we'll continue that process.
Thank you.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Mark, I've watched you since you stepped into Public Works that needed a leader, and that was having a lot of problems. And I've watched you straighten that department out with the assistance of Kevin Smith and your other directors there. And I think you're doing a great job in getting us back online as far as our rates. I know it's hard for us to have to raise rates the number of years that we've had, but I think that we'll see better days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no more questions or comments, there has been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Aguilar, to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Public Works, Mr. Mark Cotter. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Intiman?
Yes.
Urpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Mr. Mark Cotter, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience here with you tonight, Mark?
No.
Well,
All three of my kids are under 11, so they're home sleeping.
well, to the good people of Sioux Falls, please realize that this man, along with his team, is doing everything in his power to provide the best in transportation for you. His name is Mark Cotter. He is the Director of Public Works for Sioux Falls. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 30.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of Director of Siouxland Libraries.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Let's.
Second, Anderson.
There's been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr., to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Siouxland Libraries. Her name is Sally Felix. Sally, thank you. Any questions or comments for Sally? Councilor Jameson.
I got to start out the routine, Sally. Actually, I've got a couple of books overdue. Can you just...
You keep telling me that.
Before I vote on this, could we just clear that up?
We treat everyone equitably, so you have to pay your fines. Sorry.
Actually, I don't recall seeing any other emails come in today except two of them in support of you. And, there's opportunities from all kinds of people to send support emails, but you were the only one who received two, at least that I received four. And I think that's just great. Speaks volumes for you. Volumes, did you get that one?
I got it.
Huh?
Good one.
It's late.
As late as it is, yes.
I'm working it. Come on. But again, Sally, thank you for all your work.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Just one other quick comment. I always appreciate, too, how you're quick to give credit to your staff as well, Sally. I know through the building processes that you've been through, you're always quick to point out the strong staff you have behind you, and I think that's a very strong sign of a good leader. Thank you.
Well, I'm very fortunate to have a great staff, so you're welcome.
Hearing no more questions or comments, there has been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr., to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Siouxland Libraries, Sally Felix. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Council members Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Sally, are you here alone tonight?
Well, yes, my dogs are home, but I
Your
don't think
dogs
they're
are
watching.
Well, folks, I had the opportunity to go through the downtown libraries today. I'll tell you, if there is a beaming smile, not only amongst her, but amongst her entire team, along with all the people that were at the library today that I met, both young and more senior alike, it just resonates in a big, big way. To the people of Sioux Falls, I would like to introduce you to the Director of the Siouxland Libraries. Her name is Sally Felix. Item 31.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of the fire chief.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So move, Anderson.
Second, Litz.
There's been a motion by Councilor Anderson, Jr., seconded by Councilor Litz to give consent to the appointment of the fire chief of Sioux Falls. His name is Chief Don Hill. Any questions for Chief Hill? Councilor Jameson.
I think I'm speaking on behalf of some of the others who aren't maybe making comments, but you wear that uniform, I think, very well, and it I think, brings honor to your service in what you do and what your staff does. I think you do a fine job. Keep it up.
Councilor Erpenbach.
I have to tell a quick story. About 9 years ago, when I started to create community gardens, one of the people I called was Don Hill. There was no running water at the community gardens. And I said, can you send fire trucks over and fill these tanks full of water? And Don said that he could, and he did. And firefighters would come and make friends with those people in those gardens. And it has grown, as we all know, but that was an amazing thing, an amazing gift to the community that you were willing to let your folks do that and to let them participate that. I'm also a Lincoln band parent, and once in a while a fire truck comes over there and hoses down some hot kids in the summer, and so, you know, yeah, you wear the uniform well, but you also represent who we are as a community, and I appreciate that more than you know.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Although we've only known each other a very short time, about 40 years, I just want to say every time I go by a fire station, I smile because you have brought, and your staff have brought, a can-do attitude to the fire department. And that's why we see the numbers we see from the fire department and the excellence that we get from it. So thank you.
Thanks.
Hearing no other questions or comments, there has been a motion by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Litz, to give consent to the appointment of the Sioux Falls Fire Chief. His name is Chief Don Hill. Please, all those in favor vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmembers Intiman?
Yes.
Orpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Chief Don Hill, is your mom here tonight?
No, she isn't. Whiskey shop the other day, though.
I met his mom at the whiskey shop, yes. Chief Hill, anybody here tonight?
No, my wife's out of town, and my one son is working, the older one. The other one is in Korea. So,
oh, my.
Thanks.
Well, I will attest and speak on behalf of the city. I don't think that there is a stronger fire department in South Dakota or maybe the Midwest. That fire department is run in great spirit by a man by the name of Chief Don Hill. And folks at Sioux Falls, he is your fire chief. Item 32.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of Director of Parks and Recreation.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Let's.
Second, Anderson.
There's been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Parks and Recreation. His name is Don Carney. And any questions for Don? Yes, Councilor Brown.
Don, thank you for your service to the city. I remember when we interviewed you to come to Sioux Falls and how anxious you were to get here, and you've proven yourself. I wanted you to spend a moment talking about, because I think one of your biggest accomplishments is bringing the accreditation to Sioux Falls and what you've done through that process. Could you explain what it was you had to do to get that and what that means to Sioux Falls?
Sure. Our process that we went through was through the Commission for the Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agencies. And the standards to be accredited consist of 155 different standards that are based on best practices in the Parks and Recreation field. And in order to become accredited, you need to significantly achieve the majority of those standards. Some are considered fundamental standards. There are 32 of those which must be met. There's no question about whether you meet those or not. And then you must meet 85% of the rest of the standards. We were pleased to be able to meet 153 out of the 155 standards that were established by CAPRA. One of the significant pieces to that was that every management level and secretarial staff member in our department chugged nights and weekends to put that evidence of compliance together to become accredited. And so many hats off to the rest of my staff that worked tirelessly to put that together, and we really feel that we're a better department as a result of becoming accredited.
Councilor Urbanbach.
Don, the fee conversation tonight kind of highlights one of the things that Parks and Rec is about, and that is that affordable quality of life issue that we so often bring up. You talk a little bit about what you see, what's the vision for maybe 5 years down the road in terms of maintaining those expectations. I mean, there are people who continue to live in Sioux Falls who grew up with all free swimming. You know, what's the vision for maintaining that quality of life that all of us can afford?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes Sioux Falls a great city, is to be able to have affordable recreation. I think we're unique in that we have the ability to offer 5 community centers and 5 enlarged gyms that are essentially free of charge for the community to enjoy. The after-school program that we have at those essentially 8 facilities allows kids at the time when they're most at risk after school to get in trouble I think that's a tremendous testament to the community to invest in those facilities. But know that I think we're cautious of the idea that it's important, well, to maintain affordable recreation. I think it's important also to understand that the costs for those services continue to go up. And as the economy goes, so does our budgets for city departments. And there's ultimately there may be a realization that we do have to slightly increase some of those fees in order to keep pace with the quality of the services and the programs that we provide.
Councilor Intiman.
Don, I'd like to thank you, too, for the services that you do provide. In the number of years that I've been in business in the city of Sioux Falls, we've had a lot of community partners, and I account the directors in the city as those partners that really make life more interesting and make all of us run and operate our businesses even better. And it's fun to have the support and the help of all of the folks out there. I must add a sidebar here. Councilor Anderson mentioned he doesn't remember free swimming. And I do. I think he's just younger than I am. I think that's the problem. But I think, again, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for introducing all of these folks to us, the directors to us, and to the community of Sioux Falls. I think it's very, very important for us to get to know all of them. And, Don, thank you for your service.
You bet.
Councilor Rothling.
Yes, Don, I've had a fairly close relationship with the Park Department for, 25 years with my relationship with soccer, and I can't imagine a better job. When I bring we brought the national soccer tournaments and things here, they are amazed at at what you do and the condition of the fields and things. And so I echo what everybody else is saying and thanking you and thanking your staff and what they do. I have only one question, and that is, when are you going to start top dressing those fields?
Long story.
Yes, my question is going to be towards the community centers that we have in the city. I know as we grow, we've seen a lot of the newer community centers being built on the edges of our city here. But I also question, do we have any plans for community centers in some of our older neighborhoods that the kids have to walk, a great distance to get to a community center? I'll use the Whittier district as a great example.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's one that we've had with the school district administration, because obviously the school district values that partnership that we have with them at the other elementary schools. One of the challenges that we've come to realize somewhat is that many of those schools are landlocked. They were basically built in one city block, and the room to expand some of those can be a challenge in order to have it attached to the actual school itself. And so I know in talking to Pam and Jeff Kreider and the other officials at the school district, they really like to see us be able to continue to be able to provide that, not only on the outskirts of town with the new growth, as you have mentioned, but also internally if we can find a way to try to enhance those other elementary schools.
Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Don, in my 6 years on the council, I don't believe that we've ever added a single park employee to your budget, but yet we've added, I believe, more than 100 acres of park land. At what point will your department be stretched too thin if that continues forward?
Well, I think we certainly tried to, I know when I initially got here, we put our heads together to figure out how do we try to cover more ground with the same number of employees. We have been unfortunate in order to be able to add seasonal staff, which certainly help. They make up a significant portion of our workforce and do a lot of the routine tasks, such as mowing and trimming and those types of things. We continue to look at ways to try to manage the growth of the community. One of the things that we're also cautious of as we develop our CIP for 11 and throughout those next 5 years is that we can, whatever we build, we can maintain. And so one of the good things is that we've been acquiring parkland for future development, but we've been somewhat holding off on being able to develop that parkland, or actually develop the parkland, because obviously it needs to be maintained. And so we're trying to balance the growth of the park system with our ability to add staff. And obviously in the current economy that's difficult now, but hopefully times will get better and we'll be able to support the workforce that we currently have out there.
Okay. With all the success that we've had bringing in national tournaments, whether they be soccer, baseball, softball, what do you view the Parks Department and your staff's responsibilities in or opportunities in helping these organizations win more bids to bring other tournaments here to Sioux Falls?
Well, I think we've been extremely successful in the past. Our partners with the People for Youth organization they've been extremely supportive, along with the other associations, the soccer association, the softball associations in town, have all really stepped up to the plate to be able to offer those facilities. Obviously, the community and the council, the mayors have been supportive by providing the types of facilities that we need to be able to attract those tournaments. But as you know, bidding on those tournaments is very competitive. The cities much, much larger than Sioux Falls are vying for those tournaments, but we've been very successful in landing many of those. And I think it's just persistence, really, and us being able to continue to lend our support to make sure that the tournaments go off without a hitch, and continue to show them that when they do come here, that it's a quality experience, and they definitely want to come back once they've been here.
Thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
Thought you'd get away from me, huh? Well, just a comment, really, if I could. When I got started on the council, I was always amazed by individuals who would give the city property in order for us to develop a park on and or green spaces and things. And it just amazed me that people would do that with their money. They could have turned it to cash and done something different, but they give it to the city. And I think Sally has received gifts in similar nature, and it's just amazed me. And I think, you know, with your predecessor and your activities, you are continuing that image that the city of Sioux Falls will do the right things with that land, and will take care of it. And in the future, the city will continue to reap those rewards. So, you know, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you're doing a fine job, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hearing no more questions or comments, there has been a motion by Councilor Litz, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr., to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Sioux Falls, Mr. Don Carney. Please, all those in favor vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmembers Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Don, is any of your family here? No. Folks, I said Money Magazine called me the other day, and they want to know some of the big things in Sioux Falls. I told them if there is a finer parks department in the entire United States, I told her to bring it on. I don't think there is. And Don, you and your team have a lot to do with that. Again, I thank you, and I'm honored to call you the Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Sioux Falls. His name, Mr. Don Carney. Item 33.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of the Director of Human Resources.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So move, Anderson.
Second Litz.
There's been a motion by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Litz, to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Human Resources for the City of Sioux Falls. His name is Mr. Bill O'Toole. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, if I could, there has been a motion by Councilor Anderson Jr., seconded by Councilor Litz, to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Human Resources for the City of Sioux Falls, Mr. Bill O'Toole. All those in favor, please vote yes. Those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmembers Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Bill, anybody in your family here?
No, they are sleeping as well.
To the City of Sioux Falls, we have 1,100 employees in the city, 1,100 employees, and you've got a new mayor that has tried to challenge the status quo at a level that's probably not been done before in his first 35 days in office. If there's one man that has had to work incredible hours because of me, it's Mr. Bill O'Toole. And I easily could have made mistakes on this path. And in fact, I did, and you didn't find out about him because he saved me. Bill, I truly thank you. I truly thank you. I look forward to working with you over the next 4 years, God willing, and Mr. Jameson willing. No, that was a joke. But I truly thank you. I am so pleased to work with you, Bill. We have some challenges up ahead. We really do, but we will get through them together. To the City of Sioux Falls, I'd like to introduce you to the Director of Human Resources for your city. His name is Mr. Bill O'Toole. Item 34.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of Director of Finance.
I have a motion to approve, please.
So move, Entenmann.
Second, Jamison.
There's been a motion by Councilor Enderman, seconded by Councilor Jameson, to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Finance of the City of Sioux Falls. His name is Mr. Gene Roanhorse. Any questions for Mr. Roanhorse? Councilor Brown.
Gene, thanks for staying here so late. I wanted to ask you about, you and I have spent a lot of time talking about performance-based measurements for city government budgeting. Do you still believe that's the right path for this city to head down?
With some modifications, it's the right path. The key is always to understand, are we getting what we're paying our money out for? And we have to measure that some way. And it seems to be a good process. We probably need some modifications to deal a little bit more with year-to-year activity. It's hard to spot trends in that we tend to look at in the business world more than in the public world. But it's a good process. I haven't seen anything really that tells you a story as well as that does.
Councilor Entenmann.
Thank you, Mayor. In business, it's very easy when we're making money to be able to hide a lot of problems that happen in budgeting processes, in operations, and all those different kinds of things. And I know with the economic climate that we've had the past couple of years, it's been extremely trying for all of us in trying to balance our budgets and finding ways to save in anything and in any way that we possibly can. So, Gene, I'd like to thank you for all of the efforts that you put forward for both of our previous mayor and for this mayor in the work that you've done and the challenges that you faced and the challenges that I know that you've received from all of us. And I'm looking forward to my City Finance 101 program here very soon.
We'll get it going.
Okay.
Councilor Jameson.
Comment for Gene. I got to know Gene when I got elected. I was getting parking tickets left and right, and I kept bringing them up there and paying them, and I would go and visit with Gene. My father, who used to sit over here somewhere years ago, always told me to follow the money. If you want to figure something out, go follow the money. And I've asked and spent a lot of time with Gene. We've sat around his table in his room there and contemplating what ifs and how is this and why is that. And Gene, you've always given a lot of time and courtesy and never rushed me out of the office. And I've always admired your knowledge and thank you for all your work.
Well, thank you. The feeling's mutual.
Hearing no other questions or comments, there has been a motion by Councilor Enderman, seconded by Councilor Jameson, to give consent to the appointment of the Director of Finance of the City of Sioux Falls, Mr. Gene Roanhorse. All those in favor, please vote yes. All those opposed, please vote no.
Councilmembers Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Gene, are you here alone tonight? Are you here alone tonight?
Have I been here alone?
No. We've been here.
I'm
are you
sorry,
here
my
alone
batteries
tonight?
went dead. No, I'm sorry. I and my wife are empty nesters. And
All right, very good. Very good.
at home watching the television, I hope.
Well, folks, we are $337 million a year in spending, and I'll tell you, coming from business, it's a lot easier to do it in business than it is to do it in city government. I will grant you that. I asked a man to stick with me through these cycles, through this learning process that I'm on, Gene, because I'm ready to run, as you know, and thank goodness you've been there to hold me back. And I thank you. I'm looking forward to working with you. And again, I congratulate you to the City of Sioux Falls. I want to introduce you to the Director of Finance. His name is Mr. Gene Roanhorst. I'm going to digress just a little bit. Mr. Mike Cooper, there was one thing I didn't really mention about Mike and the city planning. You know, if there's anybody who's got a lot of attention in the last 3 weeks, it's been Mike Cooper and his team. I tell you, we are going to build a powerhouse planning and zoning department, and that man is going to lead the charge. Mike, thank you. Thanks for your service and for your team as well. I'm so looking forward to it. And to the people of Sioux Falls, there is not a stronger set of department heads in this state easily. They live in Sioux Falls. They want the city to grow. They want the city to prosper. They want to do the right thing. They take scrutiny. They get calls all hours of the night. They take emails. They respond to you because they care about the city. They also love the city council. They do. It has not been, they do. They respect it. They love it. They understand the value of it. Have there been challenges in the past? You bet. But they're ready to run. City of Sioux Falls, be proud. Be very proud. These 12 men and women are here. They're going to bust their tail for you. The city council will make them. I will make them. And they're ready to do it. Thank you all. Thank you all. I'm so pumped. Thank you all. We now, hearing no other comments or questions, I'm going to sign this document so that Gene can be approved. And with that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It has been motioned by Councilor Litz to adjourn, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or do I have to roll call that? No. All those opposed vote no. We are adjourned. Thank you, Sioux Falls.